Chapter 536. Why should she make him happy? Rong Haiyue was a criminal, the devil who raped her. She did not want to be with him at all. He forced her to sleep with him, forced her to get pregnant, and forced her to have a child. Seeing him raising someone else's child, raising that bastard, I felt indescribably comfortable. Rong Xian took a deep breath and took back her tears. Later, he found that I often went to Kingstown, and I noticed that he was following me. Since then, I did not dare to go to the orphanage, but every year I still sent money to you to buy you some clothes and some fresh toys. Yes, she remembered. The children in the orphanage were very envious of her. Even the dean said that Su Chenxi was a special child. Haha. She was indeed unique. Rong Haiyue listened in the hospital bed, looking at the ceiling, and never saying a word. His sharp eagle eyes were covered with a layer of mist, and in the emptiness, there was resentment. But Rong Anna, I have never regarded her as my own daughter. I only have one daughter. Chenxi, I am your mother. At the end of the sentence, the word mother was already with a strong crying tone. Rong Xian's tears fell, but they were quickly wiped away and covered again. You can blame me or hate me, I admit it, but this is all caused by me. Rong Haiyue does not know anything. If you are angry, take it out on me. Rong Haiyue saved your life. He was shot in the arm and almost died due to excessive blood loss. This time, in order to save you and your husband, he was blown up like this, and his body has been severely burned. Is it not enough? Was it not enough? Was it enough? Was it not enough? Su Chenxi's mind was now a mess. Looking at Rong Xian's tears, her eyes were strangely dry. It was just that his heart felt like it was being hammered by an awl, causing a dull pain. Su Chenxi did not want to listen anymore. She stepped away and walked directly to the door of the ward. Chenxi, Rong Xian called again, but this time, Su Chenxi did not stop. No matter what happened in the past, Mom and Dad will not hurt you. The bodyguard, Shuang Yu, had always been guarding the door. Seeing her coming out, she immediately followed. Su Chenxi walked faster, and soon after she walked out of the corridor, she heard the roar behind her again. Remember to come back when you think it through. We will wait for you. We'll wait for you. Hearing these words, Su Chenxi finally couldn't help it, and her eyes became misty again. Pressing the button on the elevator, she walked in with her head down, not wanting others to see her strangeness. When Yang saw her coming out of the hospital, he drove the car to the roadside and let her get on the car with Shuang Yu. In the car, she called Li Jinnan. Li Jinnan seemed to be busy. It took him a long time to answer the phone. When he picked it up, he was a little out of breath. Hello, second sister-in-law? Uncle, are you busy? I'm fighting against Big Brother. Phew, I haven't trained in a long time. Are you free in the afternoon? Come to the company. The shareholders' meeting will be held at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Also, I have something important to tell you. Me? Second brother's company? Yes, I want you to take over the Li Group. Wow, that won't do. I've never tried doing business before. You can do it. Li Jinnan was very smart and capable. In his previous life, he had started an entertainment company with Li Xiqing for fun, and it was also very successful. Hearing that, Li Jinnan panted harder and said, Okay, see you in the afternoon. Chapter 537. Yes. Li Jinnan shouted, Brother, sister-in-law is looking for you. Li Beixing also came quickly, and his breath was obviously much calmer than Li Jinnan's. Sister-in-law, are you looking for me? Brother, you are right. If he is alive, I want to see him. If he is dead, I want to see his body. Li Beixing heard the words, raised an eyebrow, took a sip of mineral water, and waited for her to continue. I will tell you in the evening. Goodbye, brother. Li Beixing was speechless. Wasn't this a joke? After arousing his curiosity, she did not say anything. She was simply a hooligan. Li Beixing did not know whether to laugh or cry, but when he heard Su Chenxi's obviously relaxed tone, he also relaxed a lot. When she arrived at the company, Su Chenxi had already fixed her makeup. When she took the VIP elevator to the president's office on the top floor, it was exactly 12 o'clock at noon. Cheng Yu was very busy. Seeing that the VIP elevator actually stopped, she was shocked, and then there was anger on her face. Who was so bold and dared to go in the elevator for the boss? The elevator door opened, and Cheng Yu was about to lose her temper. After seeing Su Qianxi and Shuang Yu, her anger suddenly disappeared. "Madam?" All the people in the secretary's office looked over and shouted in unison, "Hello, madam." "Just call me Su Qianxi." Su Qianxi smiled. "Have you all eaten? If you haven't eaten yet, let's go eat together. I am also hungry." Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They were obviously overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. Cheng Yu looked at her watch and nodded. "Okay, everyone go eat. The restaurant should be ready. Let the kitchen help me bring it up. I want... Assistant Cheng, come with us. I have something to tell you." Cheng Yu was a little surprised, glanced at the work progress in her hand, and nodded. "Okay, let's go." It was the first time that Su Qianxi came to the staff cafeteria of the Li Group. As soon as she entered, she was surrounded by a lot of people. Su Qianxi followed Cheng Yu to the CEO's private room and asked about Su Qianxi's hobbies. After telling the kitchen to make a few dishes, Cheng Yu turned around and sat down. "Cheng Yu, if Li Xiqing is still alive." Cheng Yu heard the words, pursed her lips sadly, looked at her with some sympathy, and immediately changed the topic. "How old is the child?" Su Qianxi was dazed. 18 weeks. "What's wrong?" "It's really twins. What a big belly. I'm so envious." Cheng Yu smiled. "You can get 2 at once. It's amazing." "Yes, he hopes it's a boy and a girl. A few days ago, the doctor told us that it's fraternal twins with 2 placentas. The placentas are a bit forward, but the babies are very healthy." She smiled. "When he comes back, I guess he can really see 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy looks like him, and the girl looks like me. Then life will be perfect." Su Qianxi was laughing, but Cheng was Cheng Xiqing. "Xiqing Yu." Xiqing, Cheng Cheng Qianxi Xiqing, Su, for Su, for Su. Shi. Xiqing, Xiqing Shi. Xiqing Su, Xiqing, Su, Xiqing, Su, is, Li, Xiqing, Li Xiqing and Su. I, Su. Shi. I, Li, and I. Li He I Cheng I Cheng Cheng Li. 4. Chapter 538. Why couldn't she accept the fact? After such a big explosion, the chance of surviving was almost 0. Moreover, she heard that before the big explosion, he had been beaten to multiple fractures, and it was impossible for him to escape. In that case, how could he still be alive? How was it possible? Cheng Yu's heart was sour, and her sympathy for Su Qianxi surged uncontrollably. She was still so young, and she was still pregnant with 2 children. How could she live in the future? Was she going to be a widow like this? She was only 21 years old. The age of a flower, the age of a flower. Thinking of this, Cheng Yu cried even louder and said, "Madam, accept the reality. He will not come back. He is dead. In that case, even if he was not killed by the explosion, he would be burned to death." "Cheng Yu." Su Qianxi's voice was a bit annoyed, and her beautiful eyes were filled with unspeakable anger. "Don't curse him. He is not dead. Didn't you find the body? If he is alive, I want to see him. If he is dead, I want to see his body." Moreover, Rong Haiyue saw with his own eyes that Li Xiqing was rescued, didn't he? Li Xiqing was not inside, and even Rong Haiyue escaped. What reason did Li Xiqing have to die? Rong Haiyue's words in the hospital suddenly echoed in her mind. These people have ulterior motives. It is better to go with the flow and develop according to the results they want. Su Qianxi originally wanted to tell Cheng Yu what Rong Haiyue had just told her. But at this moment, she did not want to say what she wanted to say. Cheng Yu thought that she was not willing to accept the fact, so why not go with the flow? Although Cheng Yu had been with Li Xiqing for many years, her relationship with Rong Rue was not ordinary. What if Rong Rue also had a connection with the drug gang? Thinking of this, Su Qianxi's face became extremely firm. Looking at Cheng Yu, she said, "He will not die. One day he will come back." Cheng Yu pursed her lips and picked up a tissue to wipe her tears. Su Qianxi's eyes were slightly red, and her voice softened. "He will come back to see me and the children. He has not named the children yet. How can he die? He will not die." When the dishes were served, the chef heard Su Qianxi's words. As a man, he couldn't help feeling sad. Putting down the food, he opened the door and went out. As soon as he returned to the kitchen, he told his colleagues about it. The thing that spreads the fastest in the world is not the source of fire, but the rumor. Within a few hours, almost everyone in the company knew that Su Qianxi was unwilling to accept the news of her husband's death. All of a sudden, she became a synonym for stubbornness and stubbornness. After the meal, Chang Yu did not speak again. As soon as they went upstairs, Su Qianxi asked Li Xiqing to bring her all the urgent documents that needed to be dealt with. Su Qianxi sat in the seat where Li Xiqing usually sat and quickly read the documents. However, as he stared at the documents, he couldn't help but recall the time when he was sitting here. She looked at the small bed that she had been lying on. From this angle, she could see the small bed and the table. Mrs. Li, mind your image. There's no one else around. This position is comfortable. It seems like you want to try. Pervert. Thinking of the past, Su Qianxi smiled, got up, walked over, and closed the door. Then, she focused on the things in her hand. Although she had not touched this kind of thing for more than a year, some simple and basic things were not difficult for her. Chapter 539. The person who wrote the plan, Lu Chongqing. Su Qianxi was very impressed by this person's name. In her previous lifetime, Li Xiqing seemed to value this person very much. As far as she heard, Lu Chongqing was a decent person who loved his wife and children. However, because he was too simple and honest, unwilling to curry favor with those in power, and did not know how to flatter others, his popularity in the company was very poor. He was also a veteran employee of the Li Group, but in the past 4 or 5 years, his position had not been promoted much. In her previous lifetime, because of a land development case, he was criticized and suppressed by the shareholders, but that plan was accepted by Li Xiqing, and he was promoted to project director. The whole project, under his strict supervision, achieved great success, and became an important push to push the Li Group to a new peak. This person, now. She dialed the internal line and called a secretary in. The secretary saw that Su Qianxi was looking at the material seriously, and she felt a little disdainful. Even though he tried his best to hide it, he still couldn't hide it from his eyes. Su Qianxi understood her thoughts very well, and did not mind directly asking her about Lu Chongqing. Sure enough, it was not much different from what she remembered. His position was the director of the development department. Help me call him in. Okay. The secretary closed the door and went out. Soon, a man who looked a little fat came in. He seemed to be in his early 30s and looked honest. When he saw Su Qianxi, his eyes were full of amazement and unconcealed uneasiness. Madam, what can I do for you? Lu Chongqing's face was a little red, and he lowered his head, not daring to look at her. Did you write this proposal? Su Qianxi put the proposal on the table and asked. Lu Chongqing came forward, turned a few pages, and nodded with a red face. There are so many pieces of land in the Xiangxia new town, but you chose this one. This land is not only occupied by a large number of people who refuse to move, but also because of the European style, the price has been artificially high. Why do you think of bidding for this piece of land? Lu Chongqing heard this question and was a little nervous. He scratched his head and stuttered, It's okay. I'm very interested in your project. Tell me what you think. Lu Chongqing blushed and muttered, I think this may be an opportunity. The European-style entertainment club is here, but, because of land restrictions, there are many things in it that are not perfect. I think we can. Perhaps because Su Qianxi was staring at him, Lu Chongqing's voice was not very fluent. Su Qianxi looked down at the other files in her hand and listened. Sure enough, after Lu Chongqing noticed that she was no longer staring at him, his voice became smoother and faster. In the end, Lu Chongqing was still a little excited. His voice became louder and louder as he said, I think my plan is very feasible. According to the investigation and calculation. His voice was powerful and confident. It was completely different from when he first came in. After talking for about 10 minutes, Lu Chongqing excitedly put his hands on the edge of the desk and asked, What do you think? After listening to his words, she glanced at the time. It was already 1:50. There were still 10 minutes before the shareholders' meeting. Chapter 540. Hearing that, Lu Chongqing was a little unconvinced. He took his hand off the edge of the desk but did not speak. Su Qianxi knew that what she said had no weight. If it was him who said this at the moment, then he would definitely have nothing to say. Tapping on the table with a pen, Su Qianxi's voice was gentle, and she looked at him calmly. The secretary came in to give Su Qianxi a glass of juice and happened to hear her words. She pouted disdainfully, put down the juice, and quietly walked out. Closing the door, the secretary quickly walked back to the secretary's office. As soon as she went in and saw that Chang Yu was not there, she began to complain. Does she really think that because the boss is dead, she is the female president? I just saw what she said to Lu Chongqing, and she even said, not perfect enough. Come on, this is not the way to pretend, okay? Another secretary was looking at the computer and helping Chang Yu. Hearing this, she looked up, adjusted her glasses, and said, no way, she really wants to take over the Li group? It seems so. A lot of information is in front of her, and it looks quite good. However, I don't know how good it is. This is hard to say. The big boss is so powerful. There is no reason that his wife does not know anything, right? Gee, when the big boss was still alive, how many times did she come here? Every time she comes, she is so delicate. She needs to be held by the big boss, as if she is afraid that others do not know that they have a good relationship. And the big boss is such a chauvinist. It is impossible for him to let his woman intervene in his career. Wow, this is too shocking. Could it be that this woman deliberately killed Big Boss just to get the company? Wow, this is too shocking. No way, so cruel? I don't think it is possible. He is the father of the children. You see, her belly is only 4 months old, and it looks like it is 5 or 6 months old. Twins. This is hard to say. I don't think she is a newbie. Could it be that she has been planning for a long time? No, she is also a finance major. It is normal to know a little. Let me tell you. Pang pang, a loud knocking sound rang out. Everyone was startled and hurriedly walked back to their respective rooms. Chang Yu stood at the door with a sullen face and flew into a rage. You have nothing to do, right? You have so much time to gossip behind other people's backs. Looks like your work schedule is too little. Everyone shrunk their necks, not daring to speak. She angrily assigned the work and quickly left in her high heels. The secretaries looked at each other and stuck out their tongues. Someone said, I'll go and see how she's doing. Go. Remember to come back for gossip. All right. The secretary opened the door and walked out. Coincidentally, he bumped into Lu Chongqing, who was walking out with his development plan. The expression on his face was indescribably dignified. Lu Chongqing did not notice that he was being stared at. He blankly returned to the chair for a few minutes. After digesting what Su Qianxi had just said, he suddenly smiled. No wonder you are Li Xiqing's wife. Amazing. The shareholders' meeting began on time. When Su Qianxi came in, everyone was already there. Seeing Su Qianxi, many people felt bored. Li Jinnan followed Su Qianxi in, looked around at the shareholders, and raised an eyebrow. Chapter 541. That's right. When President Li was here, he did not dare to let us wait for so long. But you, a new boss, want to make changes? Or, you don't want to come to this meeting at all. In that case, you don't have to force yourself. Anyway, Li Xiqing was dead, and the company was just an empty shell. What kind of waves could a woman do? It was better for everyone to transfer their shares together. While the Li Corporation was still valuable, they could exchange some money to invest in other things. Otherwise, they would lose money instead of making money. It was not only 1 or 2 people who had this idea. The company had not been established for a long time, and there were 8 shareholders in total. Some were partners who worked with Li Xiqing in the past, and some were older shareholders who later invested. Most of the people who were talking were old men about the same age as Li Xiao. On the contrary, some young people just looked at Su Qianxi and remained silent. Su Qianxi looked at her watch and said, If I remember correctly, the shareholders' meeting should be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It has been 2 minutes since I came in and listened to your accusations. Now it is 14:01. That is to say, I came in at 13:59. Am I late? No, said a young man sitting in the front. He looked about 30 years old, and he was very capable. Feng Chen, one of the largest shareholders of the company, had followed Li Xiqing from the beginning. Well, President Li will arrive 3 minutes earlier. Oh. So, I am not late. What makes you say that? Su Qianxi sat down in the chairman's seat. My husband's habits are not my habits. You used to be used to my husband's habits, so in the future, you will have to get used to my habits. An older man sneered. You mean, you want to be the president of the company? Are you kidding me? How can a woman be the decision-maker of the company? Such a big company, don't let it fall in your hands. Well, if that's the case, we have nothing to say. The largest share is in your hands. When your husband died, the entire company is in your hands. Isn't it still up to you? Su Qianxi listened to these words with a cold face and sneered. Yes, my husband is gone, and I have the final say. But my husband is not dead. Please don't curse him. He just left temporarily. It won't be long before he comes back to take over the Li Corporation. But before that, I am the highest decision-maker here. Hearing this, the surrounding people fell silent. Indeed, Li Xiqing's death was hard to accept. Everyone looked at Su Qianxi with some sympathy. I now have a plan for the land bidding. According to my observation and calculation, I think it is very feasible. The preliminary plan has come out, and the specifics need to be improved. She asked Cheng Yu to send the copy of the plan to someone else. All the shareholders were frowning as they watched. All the shareholders were. Obviously, they were not optimistic about this project. This was completely within Su Qianxi's expectations. Telling them her thoughts and plans, she observed their reactions one by one. Chapter 542. Su Qianxi looked at him. She seemed to have seen this person before. When the Li Group was losing money, this person donated money and ran away. Later, he was caught and suffered from Li Xiqing's brutal revenge. He spent a lifetime in prison. She used to think that Li Xiqing was too tough. Now thinking about it, her original idea was ridiculous. Cheng Yu. Yes. How many shares does this gentleman have? 8. 9%. Who else wants me to buy back the shares? Cheng Yu stared at Su Qianxi. No way, she really wanted to buy back the shares? That would be a huge expense. Recently, the stock market of the Li Group had plummeted, and they had lost a lot of money. If these shares were bought back, it would cost so much money, the Li Group. Mrs. Li this. But before Cheng Yu finished, someone said directly, although I still have feelings for the Li Group, I am not very optimistic. I will quit. Cheng Yu, register, how many shares does he have? 3, 8%. Me too, another man said. 9, 7%. Su Qianxi looked at them and said, okay, then I will buy back your shares at the market price, but I hope you think about it clearly. In the future, whether the Li Group succeeds or fails, it has nothing to do with you anymore. Seeing that she really wanted to buy back the shares, Cheng Yu panicked and shouted, Mrs. Li, this is not good. Our company can't afford so much money. I can take out my husband's private property, but these people will not be accepted by the Li Group in the future. When the Li Group was glorious, they were there. When Li Xiqing had an accident, they ran away one by one. Such ungrateful people, we don't need them. Su Qianxi's voice was flat, but what she said went straight to the hearts of those people. That's right. Isn't he an ingrate? However, the Li Group was built by Li Xiqing, and they had no right to touch the position of CEO. If they did not quit at this time, they would just wait for death. Despite what Su Qianxi said, they still did not change their minds. Seeing their determination, Su Qianxi said disappointedly, contact a lawyer and draft a share transfer agreement, Cheng Yu. Su Qianxi knew that it was obviously irrational for her to do this kind of thing at this time. However, the next project, she knew that it would definitely bring the Li Group back to life. Why did she have to take advantage of them? Su Qianxi did not explain to Cheng Yu, but drove away those who were about to quit and discussed the development of the new project with the remaining 5 shareholders. I'm not optimistic about this project, but I won't quit, Feng Chen said. Mrs. Li, why did you choose this piece of land? The initial investment is very huge. If it was the Li Corporation in the past, this project would not be a problem at all, but you've seen the Li Corporation's recent situation. If this project is implemented, it will undoubtedly make things worse. She pursed her lips and shook her head. Do you know why I chose this place? Here is the land I am going to bid for. This is a European-style leisure club. Because of the scope limitation, There are many things in the European-style club that are not perfect. We can take advantage of this loophole. Moreover, this place is bordered by the Kingstown River in the east and Guang City in the west. Chapter 543. His mouth was dry, and Cheng Yu handed him a glass of water and listened attentively. Li Jinnan, who had never been in contact with the company, was confused. At the same time, he admired Su Qianxi. 3 days later, Su Qianxi asked Lu Chongqing to make a PowerPoint presentation of the complete plan. During the meeting, the pros and cons of the project and the investment calculation were all explained. Su Qianxi appointed herself as the president of the company and appointed Lu Chongqing as the project director. He was fully responsible for the project and let Li Jinnan also learn in the company. Sure enough, Lu Chongqing's ability and effectiveness were far beyond everyone's expectations. In just 2 months, all the original residents had been cleared, and the project had begun. Su Qianxi was very busy during this time, and her belly was getting bigger and bigger. Pregnant with twins, Su Qianxi was already unable to walk when she was 8 months pregnant. She simply waited at home for delivery. Many things that Li Jinnan or Cheng Yu could handle were handled on the spot. If they could not handle it, it would fall into Su Qianxi's hands. Su Qianxi used to work with Li Xiqing for a while, and she had the ability to predict many things that others did not have. The company had been steadily rising. Because it was a bit inconvenient to move, Su Qianxi asked Shuangyu to continue to protect her, and Captain Li also called Nanny Rong over to take care of her. Li Beixing rarely came home, and the first thing he did when he came back was to find Su Qianxi. When Su Qianxi opened the door, Li Beixing looked dignified and seemed to be a bit hesitant. Looking at her, he said, "There is news of Xiqing." Hearing these words, Su Qianxi was stunned, then held his hand and was pleasantly surprised. "Really? Where is he? How is he doing? Is the injury better? Why hasn't he come back yet?" A series of questions made Li Beixing's heart uncomfortable. He handed the information in his hand to her and said, "You should be mentally prepared. Xiqing's injury was very serious. He once went to the 3rd hospital of Kingstown for treatment, but this person is only suspected. There is no direct evidence to prove that this person is Xiqing." Su Qianxi took the information and saw a color photo at a glance. The person in the photo was sitting in a wheelchair with only a pair of eyes exposed. His body was wrapped in bandages, so his figure and face could not be seen clearly. The time when this person was admitted to the hospital coincided with the time when Xiqing disappeared. They seemed to be about the same age. However, at that time, he was treated as a nameless patient. A secret person had been paying for his medical expenses, but he never showed up. Su Qianxi looked at the photo for a long time. After staying in the hospital for more than a month, he was discharged on his own when his body was slightly better. Since he had already paid the medical fees, the hospital did not detain him. I ordered people to check the surrounding surveillance cameras, but they could not find any. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. Her face became paler and paler. He placed his hand on his stomach and furrowed his brows. Li Beixing looked at her and continued, "I don't think it's Li Xiqing. If it's really him, he will come back by himself. So far, this is the only one that matches him. I am still investigating his background and whereabouts, but I am sure that Li Xiqing is still alive." Su Qianxi frowned, held the doorframe and said, "Brother, my stomach hurts." Chapter 544. The previous chapter has been revised. You can read it again to make up for your regrets. The fetus was only 8 months old, and Su Qianxi had already been sent to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, her water had broken. Su Qianxi kept thinking about what Li Beixing had just said. Li Xiqing must be alive. Yes, he must be alive. But why did he leave? Why did he not come back to see her? Even if he did not see her, it would be good to see the baby. She was about to give birth. Could he know? Su Qianxi's eyes were full of tears, and the pain from her lower abdomen made her feel extremely uncomfortable. There was a lot of noise around, and Su Qianxi's mind was blank. She did not know when she had entered the delivery room or what had happened around her. When the dazzling incandescent light shone down, Su Qianxi seemed to see the face she had been thinking about day and night. Li Xiqing was in front of her, smiling softly at her. His eyes were full of love and pride. He said, "Amazing, my wife is amazing." She chuckled, and tears flowed down from her eyes. She reached out and wanted to touch his face, but when she reached out, the face suddenly disappeared. Su Qianxi's lips suddenly turned down. Her eyes were blurred, and she closed them. Li Xiqing, where are you? I miss you so much. It was difficult to give birth to twins naturally, so Su Qianxi had a C-section. A boy and a girl, and the whole family was overjoyed. The boy came out a little earlier than the girl, so he was honored to be the elder brother. However, because of the premature birth, both babies were put in the incubator. Captain Li looked at the rows of little babies inside and could find the name of Su Qianxi at a glance. He was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. The names of the babies, after thinking about it again and again, Captain Li wrote, Li Zhenqian, Li Zhenyue. And the nicknames. Su Qianxi directly said the names that Li Xiqing did not know if he was serious or joking. Daisu, Ursu. Although many people complained that it sounded bad, it was Li Xiqing who named it, wasn't it? After lying in the hospital for a few days, Su Qianxi quickly moved back to the old house for confinement. Lu Yihan had upgraded from a male best friend to a male cook. Almost every day, he would come to the old house to cook for Su Qianxi. As for Li Jinnan, he always had a bunch of things that he couldn't understand and would come running into her room to ask all sorts of questions. She answered with a smile, looked at him and said, "Brother-in-law." Li Jinnan bit his pen. He was suddenly yelled at. He looked up in a daze. "What's wrong?" "When I'm done with my confinement, teach me how to fight." "You want to learn?" "Yes, and shooting." "Why are you learning this?" "It's illegal," Li Jinnan said with a straight face. "Self-defense. This way I can protect myself. In the future, I might even be able to protect my child." She smiled and looked at him, bowed her head slightly and said, "Maybe when he comes back I can proudly say to him, 'Look, I can live well without you.'" Li Jinnan stared at her for a long time and nodded his head helplessly. "All right, we'll talk about it when you're out of confinement." After Li Jinnan left, Nanny Rong came back with the baby to feed. Su Qianxi was too thin and did not have much milk, so she had to mix it with milk powder. Su Qianxi held Ursu in her arms and watched her little hand constantly sucking on Ursu's neck. A smile slowly spread across her lips. Chapter 545. After feeding the baby and putting the baby to sleep, Su Qianxi was very energetic. Picking up her phone, she suddenly found that the chat software that no one had contacted for hundreds of years suddenly sent a message frowny face L. A boy and a girl. "Congratulations." L. The stranger who added her but never chatted with her. A few words were the first words he said to her. She also replied with 2 words. "Thank you." However, there was no response. The Xiangxia New Town project was completed in the 38th month. Because of the unique design and interior features, it became one of the landmarks of Kingstown. In the 3rd year, it was officially opened, taking the expensive high-end route. In less than a year, the profit was already very considerable. In the past 4 years, Lu Chongqing admired that woman more and more. In other words, everyone in the company admired her. In the Li group, the employees came and went, but she was always there. But half a month ago, her belly was too big to walk, so she directly asked for leave to wait at home for delivery. Kingstown Second Hospital. Rong Rue pestered the doctor for a long time before the doctor was willing to let him in. As soon as he entered, he heard Chang Yu's miserable cry. He immediately ran over and held her hand. As soon as she saw him, she cried out, "Honey, it hurts." Rong Rue was also in pain. Holding her hand, Rong Rue kissed her hand and said, "Don't talk, focus on the birth, and it will be fine after the birth." She gritted her teeth and cried hard. "I will never give birth again. It's so *king painful." "Ah. Good girl, don't cry, give birth. After this, we won't give birth again." Rong Rue touched her face, his face full of distress. "I won't give birth again. It turns out that giving birth is really so painful." Although this was not the first time he saw a woman give birth. However, the first time was when he saw Tang Menjing. At that time, he was discouraged and did not feel anything at all. But this time, because it was Chang Yu, Rong Rue felt heartache. Seeing her pale face, he wished he could replace her and help her. After a long time, Chang Yu cried until she had no strength and became a lot more obedient. Fortunately, the heavens were extremely kind to him. Natural birth, mother and daughter were safe. When Rong Rui saw the child, he smiled happily. However, he did not pay attention to the child, but held her hand and stayed with her. She didn't know how long she had slept. When she opened her eyes, she saw him. Rong Rui's eyes were covered with a layer of tears. He looked at her and said in a low voice, "Amazing. She gave birth to a little princess." Seeing him like this, she also laughed out loud. "Where is the baby?" "I don't know. The nurse took him away." "What kind of father are you? You don't even know where the child is." "I want to be a husband and then a father." Rong Rui touched her face. "Are you tired?" "Of course." Chang Yu pouted and suddenly burst into tears. "I'm so tired." Rong Rui panicked when he saw her crying. "Why are you crying? You can't cry after giving birth. It's bad for your eyes." "I just feel sad. You know, when I saw you coming, I felt so happy, Rong Rui." She sobbed. "I still have my husband by my side. I felt the pain at the time, but I was really not afraid at all, but, sob. Rong Rui couldn't help laughing. He was so touched that he wiped her tears and said, "Silly. But how did Susu get through it?" "When she gave birth to 2 children, it was a cesarean section. She must be very scared, but there was no one around her to accompany her to give birth. She didn't even have someone to cry to. Thinking about it, it's really..." She cried again and pursed her lips. "It's really pitiful." Shuangyu took out the breast pump and handed it to her. She was touched but soon looked up. "How do you know it is a girl?" Chapter 547. Okay, she reluctantly accepted this explanation. Chengyu put the breast pump on her chest, and the milk came out. She breathed a sigh of relief. Soon, half a bottle was filled, and Su Qianxi gently fed it to the baby. The little thing finally stopped crying, blushing and clenching her fist, sucking hard. "Didn't your parents say they were coming? Where is Rong Rui? Where did they go? You are the only one left." "They haven't arrived yet. My water broke in the middle of the night last night. Rong Rui has called them. Rong Rui went to buy food for me and has not come back yet." Chang Yu felt that Su Qianxi was a timely rain. Seeing that the half bottle of milk was about to be drunk by the little thing, Chang Yu secretly clicked her tongue and said, "This little thing can eat so much." Su Qianxi smiled. "Children drink more to prove that they are healthy. Get some more." After pulling out the bottle, the baby whimpered, but he didn't cry out. He swung his little arms and his eyes were half open. He looked so soft and cute. Su Qianxi teased the little thing and said, "You can be my Daisu's wife in the future. You look so good. Your Daisu has very high standards. Some time ago, I asked him what type of girl he likes and if he has a crush on a little girl in kindergarten. Guess what he said?" "What?" Speaking of her son, Su Qianxi could not hide the smile on her face and looked up at her. Before Chang Yu said anything, she smiled first. He said, "What little girl? Ursu is already annoying enough. If you want to find a girl, find a woman like your mother." Hearing that, Shuangyu also laughed. When Su Qianxi was about to say something, the door of the ward was opened. Rong Rui came in with a delicate cardboard box and was a little surprised to see Su Qianxi. "Why are you here? Are you not busy today?" "I'm busy. I left it to my uncle and am going to pick up the child from school." Looking at her watch, she said, "Well, it's almost time. I have to pick up the child. You can have the baby back." Rong Rui carefully took it. The little thing was soft. Holding it in his hand, he couldn't help feeling nervous, for fear of dropping it. However, he couldn't hide the smile on his face. He looked a little silly. Seeing him like this, she subconsciously thought of his expression when he found out that she was pregnant with twins. His expression was still vivid in her mind. Just like a fool. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and there was envy in her eyes. She waved at Cheng Yu. "Let's go. Be careful." Little Sun Kindergarten. In the colorful little park, there were children running around. 3 to 5 little girls around 3 to 4 years old gathered together, patting the sand in the sandbox. One of them was wearing a pink princess fluffy gauze dress, sitting in the sand pool with a pair of fleshy legs. Her face was stained with sand, and she looked fair and tender. She had a pair of big almond-shaped eyes, long and thick eyelashes, a small pink face, and full and beautiful lips. Her hair was combed into a ponytail, and some light hair ran out. When the wind blew, it swayed gently. At this moment, she was holding a small spoon and a doll. She said softly and with motherly love, "Come, mommy will feed you." The young teacher came over and shouted, "Li Zhenqian, Li Zhenyue, someone is coming to pick you up." Chapter 548. Li Zhenyue cheered excitedly, stood up, patted the sand on her body, and ran to the little boy next to the tree. The little boy had delicate eyebrows and eyes. His black hair was slightly curly, but only the end of the hair was slightly curled. His skin was very white, and on his little face, there was no blemish at all. He was wearing a royal blue short-sleeved sportswear, a typical t-shirt and shorts, which made him look clean and handsome. Li Zhenqian was holding a Robinson Crusoe book and reading it. From time to time, he turned his head to look at his sister, who made him cause trouble for nothing, for fear that she would run away. At this moment, hearing the teacher's words, he closed the book and stood up from under the tree. Li Zhenyue ran over and was about to wipe Li Zhenqian's body with her two dusty hands. Li Zhenqian avoided it vigilantly and blocked it with the book in his hand. He said coldly, "It's dirty. Don't touch me. Desu is bad. You think I'm dirty." Li Zhenyue pouted and angrily stomped her feet and turned to wash her hands. "I want to tell Mom that you not only think I'm stupid, but now you think I'm dirty. I'll let Mom teach you a lesson. I won't take you to see Dad's photos in the future." Li Zhenqian didn't want to talk to her. He took the book in his hand and waited for her to wash her hands. Then they went to the classroom to pick up the small school bag and walk to the kindergarten gate. However, he didn't see Su Chenxi. "Where's Mom?" Li Zhenyue carried a small school bag and looked around at the gate of the kindergarten, but she didn't see Su Chenxi. But when she looked to the left, she saw a lively little white rabbit squatting there. It was covered in fluffy fur, and it was looking at her with its red eyes. Li Zhenyue's eyes lit up and walked toward the little white rabbit. However, the little white rabbit was afraid of people. When it saw her, it turned around and ran away. Li Zhenyue jumped and chased after it, shouting, "Little rabbit, don't run!" Li Zhenqian was looking around at his mother's car. When he heard her words, Li Zhenyue had already run over there. "Ursu, don't run around. Mosen hasn't come yet." Li Zhenqian shouted, but Li Zhenyue didn't seem to hear, and soon disappeared around the corner. It was a small alley, behind which was the kindergarten's garden and teacher's dormitory. Li Zhenqian had a bad feeling in his heart. He carried his small school bag and chased after him. But when he ran over, he saw a strange uncle standing there, wearing a cap on his head and a mask on his face. When Li Zhenqian saw it, he stopped and looked behind the uncle, but did not find his sister. "Are you looking for your little sister?" The uncle suddenly spoke with a smile. Li Zhenqian felt that something was wrong and was about to step back, but the uncle suddenly came forward and grabbed him, lifted him up, covered his mouth, and went to the flowers next to him. Li Zhenqian's eyes widened. It turned out that there was a hole in the flowers. The uncle grabbed him and crawled through the hole, out of the wall of the kindergarten, and then carried him into a silver-gray van. As soon as he got in the car, Li Zhenqian saw Li Zhenyue holding a little rabbit in her arms. When she saw him, she smiled sweetly, and two small dimples appeared on her face. "Brother, look, a little rabbit." Li Zhenqian looked at her and suddenly felt a headache coming on. Didn't this girl know that she had been caught by the bad guys? She was still playing with a little rabbit? For the nth time, he thought that his sister must have been switched by the hospital when she was born. Otherwise, how could there be such a big difference in IQ? Looking at the uncle who had just caught them, Li Zhenqian's eyes were panicked, but his little face was calm, and he asked in a deep voice, "What do you want?" Li Zhenqian's attitude was far beyond the man's expectation. He thought that he would be as easy to fool as the girl, but now it seemed that the gap was huge. He pushed him in and said softly, "Be good, I'll call your mother to pick you up now." During the conversation, Li Zhenqian clearly saw him pick up a business card and a mobile phone. The business card with white characters on a black background was extremely familiar. President of LS Group. Su Chenxi Dash. Chapter 549. Li Zhenqian saw the uncle throw the business card and the mobile phone into the front seat of the car. A beautiful woman was sitting in the front seat of the car, wearing heavy makeup and a strong perfume smell, which was very pungent. In the passenger seat, a young man with dyed hair was sitting. He started the car and slowly moved forward. The beautiful woman took the phone and began to dial. The middle-aged man took out 2 white straps from the small pocket in front of him. Li Zhenqian saw this, and his face was not very good. On his small face, his lips tightened into a red arc and he said, Su. Li Zhenyue, who was touching the bunny, looked up and looked at Li Zhenqian with some doubts. Do you know what you have done? As soon as Li Zhenqian finished speaking, he was taken away by the uncle, and his 2 small hands were lifted up. When will you let us go? Li Zhenqian asked stubbornly with a pale face. He knew that he was kidnapped, but he couldn't panic. His sister didn't know anything, and he had to protect her. When the uncle heard this, the smile on his face deepened, and his voice was very gentle. He said, Be good, Uncle will buy you candy to eat later. Uncle will not beat you, nor will he scold you. When your mother comes, I will let you go with her, okay? Okay. Li Zhenyue responded with a sweet voice. Uncle, I like to eat cotton candy. Okay, Uncle will buy you cotton candy. What does little brother like to eat? Li Zhenqian did not want to pay attention to him. His pair of small hands had been tied behind him and hidden behind the small school bag. The woman in front had already dialed Su Chenxi's phone number, stretched and said, President Su, do you remember me? We met at the opening ceremony of Xiangxia New Village last time. You gave me a ticket to Xiangxia New Village. Do you remember? Su Chenxi held the phone and stood in the kindergarten. Several teachers stood in a row. Under the threat of Shuang Yu's face, they were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe. Beside Shuang Yu, a little boy was sobbing. Naturally curly dark brown hair, deep and three-dimensional childish facial features, and a pair of blue eyes full of tears. At this moment he was grabbing Shuang Yu's coat, crying and apologizing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lose the little young master and the little princess, I'm sorry. Su Chenxi glanced at the little guy, reached out and rubbed his hair, and said to the person on the phone, I don't remember. What do you want? On the day of the opening ceremony, she personally handed out hundreds of tickets. How could she remember every single one of them? The woman seemed to have expected it. She said, It's normal that you don't remember. I'm looking for you this time to tell you that your son and daughter are in my hands. Recently, I'm a little short of money, so I want to borrow some money from you. But they are all fine. I didn't touch them, but if you dare to call the police, then it's another matter. How much do you want? Su Chenxi's voice was very calm, which was the style of President Su. Chapter 550. I want to talk to my son. The woman pouted, turned around, and handed the phone over. President Su wants to talk to the young master. The phone was placed in Li Zhenqian's ear, and Su Chenxi called, Desu. Li Zhenqian closed his mouth, but seeing the woman's threatening face, he couldn't help but say, Mom, we are fine. Don't worry, the sisters here are very good to us. Sister, uncle, and brother, there are 3 people there? Su Chenxi narrowed her eyes and listened to the movement over there. Smart child, the woman heard the word sister, smiled happily, took the phone back, and nodded with satisfaction. You heard it? I will wait for you at Guangda. I know you have a very powerful bodyguard. Don't take her, and don't call the police. Come alone and call me when you arrive. Otherwise, I don't know what I will do. Our goal is just money. We will leave when we get the money. I know 10 million is nothing to you. I hope we can cooperate well. President Su. After that, she hung up the phone. Su Chenxi lowered her eyes and sent the phone number to Luo Zhan's WeChat. Locate the detailed address of this number. My son and daughter were kidnapped, and let uncle come over to help. Luo Zhan quickly replied. Damn. He immediately added. Okay. Shuang Yu, you send Mosen back first. I have something to do. Shuang Yu nodded, reached out and took little Mosen, and walked outside. Su Chenxi asked Xiao Yang to withdraw the cash, and she drove the RV to the place they said. The 2 little guys were very honest, especially the little girl, who looked pink and tender, holding a little rabbit. A pair of big eyes looked here and there, blinked and asked, Uncle, are you a bad person? The uncle looked over and said, How can uncle be a bad person? I still want to buy you cotton candy to eat. Oh, but I just heard you asking my mother for money. Uncle said that only bad people will kidnap us to ask for money from my mother. The kidnapper is the bad person, but Uncle did not kidnap you, nor did he tie you up, the kidnapper said with a smile. Li Zhenxian's hands were tied, but Li Genue's were not. Li Genue nodded without doubt. So that's the case, but why did you tie my brother's hands? Why did you kidnap my brother but not me? Am I worthless? Ha ha. The punk in the driver's seat laughed. He was wearing a mask on his face. He looked over while driving and asked, "How old are you, little girl?" 3.5. There was a hint of pride in her crisp voice. Mommy said that when we turn 4, she'll take us to horse ears to play. It's so fun, so fun. Li Zhenxian leaned against the back of the car seat and said, "Idiot, that's the Maldives." Li Genue's little face was puffed up with anger. She put her hands on her hips and said, "Brother is a bad guy. It's obviously a horse's ear. You're the one who remembered wrongly. Why did you have to call me an idiot? Little rabbit, bite him, bite him." As he spoke, he held the little rabbit and bit Li Zhenxian's hand. The little rabbit sniffed, and then quickly turned its head away. Chapter 551. Ha ha ha, this little girl is so fun. The car entered the vast parking lot. The punk laughed and found a parking space to stop. "Little girl, what's your name?" "My name is Li." Before he finished speaking, the phone rang. The woman smiled happily, opened the door and got out of the car. She answered the phone. "Hello, have you arrived? Where are you?" "Wait for me at the milk tea shop on the 3rd floor. I'll be there soon." After hanging up the phone, the woman turned her head and said, "Be sure to keep an eye on them. When the money is in our hands, we can go far away." "Go." The punk couldn't wait to urge. "Finish it quickly." The woman quickly twisted her waist and left. The two men talked to Li Genue, but Li Genue wanted to play with the little bunnies and ignored them. The two men simply smoked in the car. Suddenly, a tall man walked over from the front. At a glance, he was at least 185 centimeters tall. He was wearing a tight short-sleeved t-shirt. It was so simple that there was no logo on it. However, the lines of his upper body were exposed. He wore a cap and a big pair of sunglasses. His lower body was casual washed jeans and white sneakers. It looked simple, but it showed an unusual temperament on him. Noble and handsome. Damn, why is this world so unfair? You can tell that he is a handsome guy even without looking at his face. The uncle flicked the cigarette ash and smiled. Maybe this is fate. I guess he is also a star. His temperament is different. However, the man quickly walked towards them and came to the driver's seat window. Bang bang. The window was knocked. The punk looked at the man closely and was even more amazed. He rolled down the window. The man immediately looked at the back seat of their car and saw the two children sitting obediently. His eyes under the sunglasses narrowed slightly and he said slowly, "Come out for a while." An order that could not be disobeyed. When the punk heard this tone, he was angry and sneered. "Who the hell are you? What do you want?" When the man saw this, his lips seemed to spread into a smile. It was very shallow and almost imperceptible. Seeing this, the punk was even angrier. However, before he could react, he saw the punk's hand reach out and pull him over, strangling his neck. The uncle in the back seat was shocked. He immediately got out of the car and roared, "What are you doing?" As he spoke, he raised his fist and threw a punch. The tall young man leaned to the side and lifted his leg to kick the uncle's chest. The uncle grunted in anger. He got into the car and picked up a pair of large garden shears from under the seat, ready to throw them at the man. The young man raised his eyebrows slightly. After releasing the punk, he ran away. The punk coughed violently and said angrily, "Damn it, don't let him get away, bastard." Then he got out of the car, picked up the fruit knife hidden in the car, and chased after him. The tall man only ran for a dozen meters before he stopped and waved at them provocatively. The two men were even more furious. They rushed forward at the same time. The uncle swung the big scissors and smashed it, while the punk pounced forward and waved his fruit knife. Chapter 552. Just stay here. The two people just now are bad guys. They want to kidnap us and extort money from Mom. Li Zhenxian turned around and said, "Help me untie this. Let's run now." Li Jianrui found the key point. Her fingers carefully opened the white rope, and her little face was wrinkled. How do you untie this? You need scissors. There may be scissors under the chair. Didn't the uncle just take out a pair of scissors? Yes. Li Jianrui immediately climbed down and went under the chair. Sure enough, she saw a lot of knives. Taking out the smallest one, Li Jianrui was a little excited and said, "So many knives, brother, look." Be careful. Don't cut yourself. Cut the rope, and let's run now. Okay. Li Jianrui carefully cut the rope on Li Jianqian's hand, and Li Jianqian finally regained his freedom. The two little guys got out of the car and found that the two uncles had been lying on the ground. The culprit who had gotten rid of them was walking toward them at that moment. His footsteps were slow and steady. His tall and straight body was strong and powerful. With one look, it was obvious that he was in no way inferior to their uncle, Li Jinnan. This man was very dangerous. Li Jianqian suddenly felt a sense of danger, and his little face was pale with fear. He shouted, "Su, run!" Li Jianrui heard the sudden shout of Li Jianqian and was shocked. Her little face changed, and she was about to cry. Run, brother. Li Jianqian took Li Jianrui and ran toward the back, but it was clear that the man behind him was not only taller than the average person, but his legs were also particularly long. He caught up in a few steps. The two little guys only felt that they were shrouded by a layer of black shadow. The two little guys were scared and shouted, "Help! Help!" After Su Chenxi arrived at the destination, she parked the car directly at the door. After waiting for a while, she received the cash from Xiao Yang. Asking him to wait for Li Jinnan, Su Chenxi called the number just now. At the milk tea shop on the third floor, Su Chenxi bought a cup of milk tea and sat down, looking around. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was the woman from earlier. "I see you. Now, put the money down. Your child is in the underground parking lot, basement 1. I will tell them to put the child down. You can go down directly to see them. How can I trust you? What if you take the money and don't let him go?" Su Chenxi narrowed her eyes vigilantly and glanced around, but did not notice anyone suspicious. "Stop looking. You can't see me. Did you come alone? Did you see anyone else? Very good. You're honest, so am I. Now, go down the safe passage. I'll follow behind you and watch you. When you see the child, put the money down." "I only want money." Su Chenxi thought about it and agreed. Carrying the money, he walked down the safe passage. But as soon as he pushed open the door of the passage, he heard the tender voices of children. It was Daesu and Ersu. "Help, help!" Chapter 553. Asshole! Su Chenxi screamed, still holding the box of money in her hand, and strode toward him. The tall man straightened up and turned to look at her. When he saw her like this, he stuffed the two children into the gap between the two cars and took a large step back. "You don't keep your promise. Didn't I say I would not touch them?" Su Chenxi threw the box of money forward and kicked it. The tall man lowered the brim of his hat, and the large sunglasses completely covered his face. Surprised to see the box coming, he subconsciously reached out to catch it. However, he never expected that in just a moment, Su Chenxi's fist had already reached his ear. Startled, the man dodged sideways and blocked Su Chenxi's hand with the box. Su Chenxi punched the box and grimaced in pain. But soon, she kicked at the man's weakness. The man shrank back, pursed his light red lips, and curled up slightly. In a flash, he reached out and grabbed her ankle. Su Chenxi was caught instead. Flustered, she wanted to take her foot back, but the man's hand was extremely steady. Although he was wearing big sunglasses on his face, Su Chenxi still clearly noticed that his eyes were unscrupulously glancing at her lower body. She whistled. Su Chenxi was wearing a summer dress. Although she was wearing safety pants, they had already shrunk as she moved. At this moment, hearing this whistle, Su Chenxi's face suddenly turned red, and she roared, "Pervert!" The man did not make a sound, grabbed her ankle with his big hand, and pulled her over. Su Chenxi lost her balance and exclaimed. Just when she thought she was going to fall, a big hand clasped her shoulder and picked her up. Su Chenxi felt a chill on her back, and in a blink of an eye, she had been pressed against the rough wall of the parking lot. Furious, Su Chenxi raised her hands and pinched his armpits. This was the ultimate move that Li Jinnan taught her. No matter how strong she was, when her armpits were stuck, her hands would become sore. However, the man seemed to have seen through her moves. He retracted his hand, revealing a provocative smile on his thin red lips. His hand that was on her shoulder slowly moved downwards, brushing past the inside of her arm and the side of her waist. Ah! Su Chenxi was mad. She raised her fist and punched him in the face, but before her fist landed, the man had already stepped back. Don't run! Seeing that he was about to turn and run, she was furious. She took off her shoe and hit him on the back of his head. The man was hit head-on and staggered, but he was not in a hurry to turn around. Hearing the footsteps behind him, he turned back, grabbed Su Chenxi's hand, and twisted it. Su Chenxi screamed and was pinned against the hood of a nearby car. One of the man's feet was on her butt, and his head was close. She felt his hot breath on her ear and lost all her strength. She yelled angrily, "Bastard, let me go!" Chapter 554. After that, Su Chenxi felt that her hand was held, and then tightened. The man pulled away and turned his head to see a woman sneaking toward the money box. Seeing the man turn his head, she was shocked and ran away with the box. But how could she compete with him? Su Chenxi was furious. She got up, only to find that her hand was tied with a white band, tied to the license plate of the car. The man caught up with the woman in a few steps and knocked her out with a karate chop. Then he tied the woman's hands up with white bandages and threw her into a corner where Su Chenxi could not see. The man picked up the money box not far away and jumped into a white convertible sports car. He waved at her with his back facing her. Then, the beautiful sound of the engine sounded, and the car quickly drove away. At the same time, the two children ran over at the same time. Mom! Li Jianqian's white and delicate cheeks finally recovered, and there was guilt and self-blame on his face. Mom, I'm sorry. Li Jianyue blinked and saw Su Chenxi's tied hands. She exclaimed, "Oh, Mom is also tied up. That bad uncle is really a bad guy." Sister-in-law, where are you? Luo Zhan's voice echoed in the parking lot. Su Chenxi only felt that she was unlucky and replied, "Here." Luo Zhan ran over, a little out of breath. Su Chenxi saw him and asked, "Where is my uncle?" "He is on the way here. It's a bit far from the company. He probably hasn't arrived yet." Luo Zhan happened to see Su Chenxi's messy hair and slightly untidy clothes. He looked mad and said, "What's the matter? Did you fight with someone?" Su Chenxi felt a burst of irritation. Her free hand tidied up her clothes and said, "Help me untie it first." "Mom, I have a knife." Li Jianyue suddenly remembered something and ran away. When Su Chenxi saw it, she said sternly, "Li Ersu, don't run around." Li Jianyue had long been used to her mother's warning. She didn't want to stop at all. Luo Zhan had no choice but to carry her back and put her beside Li Jianqian. "Take care of your sister." As he spoke, he took out a metal lighter from his pocket. He pushed the bottom of the lighter, and a sharp knife appeared. He reached out and cut it, and the binding was untied. After she untied it, she rubbed her wrist and walked to the corner where the man had left the woman. At a glance, he saw 3 people lying on the ground. They were all unconscious. Luo Zhan came over with the 2 children and was slightly stunned. "Who did this?" "This is the person who kidnapped us," Li Jianqian said as he pulled Luo Zhan's hand. "Let's call the police," Su Chenxi said, and then looked at the surveillance cameras in every corner of the parking lot, which were all covered with white tape. It seems that the kidnappers have been planning for a long time and are ready to do the dirty work. Damn it! Su Chenxi thought of the feeling of her chest being rubbed hard and couldn't express the anger in her heart. She gritted her teeth and said, "We must find out who the accomplice is." In the past 3 years, Luo Zhan had rarely seen Su Chenxi so angry. He slightly avoided her and saw Su Chenxi walking back the way she came. Chapter 555. Holding the 2 children, Luo Zhan fell behind and called the police. Li Jianyue shouted for the little rabbit. Luo Zhan had to take her to find the little rabbit and hold it in his arms. When they returned to the old house, they saw Li Mosen squatting at the door waiting for them. Li Mosen saw Su Chenxi's RV coming and immediately ran up. The 5-year-old child's legs were not long, but Li Mosen's physical fitness and development were good, and he ran very fast. Seeing the young master and the little princess walking out of the car hand in hand, Li Mosen was so happy that his eyes were red. Finally back. Li Jianyue saw Li Mosen like this, and said with some disgust, "Blue children can't cry. Mom said that girls can cry. Unless Brother Mosen wants to be Mosen's sister in the future, then you can cry." Li Mosen quickly covered up the strangeness and looked at her arms. Li Jianyue proudly handed the little rabbit out and said, "Look, little rabbit, isn't it cute?" "Not as cute as you. The little princess is the cutest," Li Mosen said honestly. Li Jianyue smiled happily and went up to hold his hand. She said with a smile, "Brother Mosen is the best. Let's go play with great-grandfather." Luo Zhan heard Li Mosen's words and silently gave him a thumbs up. Good guy, he was so good at picking up girls at such a young age. What would happen when he grew up? Li Mosen looked at the hand held by Li Jianyue, and deep in his blue eyes, he was moved. However, he quickly slapped her hand away and said, "You go first, I have something to talk to madam." Hearing this, Li Jianyue was a little unhappy and said seriously in a childish voice, "How many times have I said, don't call my mother madam, just call my mother auntie?" Luo Zhan took Li Jianqian's hand and whispered, "Let's take our sister to play with great-grandfather." "Okay." Li Jianqian nodded and looked at Li Mosen with a pair of phoenix eyes. "Mosen, let's practice taekwondo tonight." "Okay." The two little guys were taken away, and Su Qianxi's eyes fell on Li Mosen. She walked in front and walked in. Shuangyu had been watching from afar. Seeing them coming, she followed them in. Qin Shuhua had been worried sick. When she saw her grandchildren come back, she let out a sigh of relief. Seeing that Li Mosen had followed Su Qianxi in, he complained, "You are really something. Why don't you keep an eye on them? You know that the little princess is playful. You should be with them." Of course, he was referring to Li Mosen. Li Mosen pursed his lips, nodded, and lowered his head. Soon tears welled up in her eyes. She knelt down in front of Su Qianxi and whispered, "Madam, I know I was wrong. I will take good care of the young master and the little princess in the future. What happened today will never happen again." His life was saved by Madam. Ever since he was sensible, he knew that his duty in life was to protect his wife's two children. If he couldn't even handle such a small matter, then he couldn't stay in the Li family. After all, he was a wild child. Even his biological mother wanted to smash him to death. If it weren't for Madam and the teacher who had been missing for 3 to 4 years, he wouldn't even exist in this world. Li Mosen knew. He had always known. Chapter 556. When Qin Shuhua saw this, she felt that it was natural and looked at him with more reproach. Li Jianyue saw this scene, but felt uncomfortable in her heart. She asked, "Why did Brother Mosen kneel?" "Great-grandfather said that there is gold under a man's knees. He can't kneel. If he kneels, the gold will fall." Su Qianxi did not avoid it. She squatted down and looked at Li Mosen. She made him look at her and said with a straight face, "Did I say not to blame yourself for everything?" Li Mosen lowered his head and did not speak. Last time Ursu fell into the pit, she deserved it. This time they were kidnapped also because of Ursu. Don't take everything on yourself. You don't owe us. You are also a child of our Li family. In the future, you are not allowed to kneel easily, and you are not allowed to call me madam. Otherwise, I will drive you away and send you back to the orphanage to let those children bully you. Before Li Mosen was 3 years old, he had been in the orphanage. Because of premature birth, his health was very poor, and he was often bullied by the children in the orphanage. He was also laughed at by the older children for his different eyes, different hair, and different skin color. It was not until 2 years ago, when Su Qianxi brought him to the Li family, that he knew there was such a paradise in the world. A beautiful, warm home. Li Mosen heard this, and tears fell down. However, he looked up at Su Qianxi stubbornly and nodded. "I know." "Then what do you call me?" "Auntie." Su Qianxi touched his nose. "Go wash your hands and teach your brother and sister to wash their hands, and then eat." "Okay." Li Mosen stood up and walked over. Li Jianyue struggled from Qin Shuhua's arms and shouted, "Grandma, let me go. I should go wash my hands." Okay. Qin Shuhua liked this granddaughter very much. She was obedient and cute. Her slightly wrinkled face was full of a doting smile. Be sure to wash your hands well so that you can eat clean. Got it. Li Jianyue did not look back. She reached out to Li Mosen and said with a smile, Brother Mosen, let's go wash our hands. When Li Jianyue walked in with Li Mosen, Li Jianqian also followed and put his hand on his shoulder. They stood side by side silently. The three children went to wash their hands. Su Qianxi told Qin Shuhua what had happened, and Qin Shuhua was terrified. Especially when he heard that the 10 million had been taken away. There was a hint of regret in his eyes. But he still said, It's good that the children are fine. But I think we can't let them go to kindergarten anymore. If this kind of thing happens once, there will be a second time. If there's a third time, there will be a fourth time. Everyone knows that our money is easy to extort. Wouldn't they all be eyeing our children? Why don't we just hire a home tutor for them? They can learn at home in the future. There are so many bodyguards at home, so it's more convenient to take care of them. When they grow up, they can go to school outside and interact with people. What do you think? Su Qianxi nodded. I think so too. I will ask someone to arrange it. Okay. Seeing that Su Qianxi finally agreed with her, Qin Shuhua was overjoyed. At the same time, she took Su Qianxi's hand and said, Thank you for all these years. Su Qianxi looked down, smiled, and stood up. Not at all. Let's eat, Mom. Where's Dad? Chapter 557. Okay. Luo Zhan was not polite at all. In the past few years, he had been used to freeloading. Just after dinner, Luo Zhan took the initiative to leave. Li Jinan had already bought his own house and moved out 2 years ago. But today, he still went back to the old house and brought back some information for Su Qianxi to look through. After taking a shower and drying her hair, Su Qianxi held the information in her room and read it. However, the longer she looked, the more annoyed she felt. The touch on her chest could not be forgotten. However, she had been bullied like that, but she did not even see the face of the gangster. Bastard. I'm so angry. Ah! Su Qianxi angrily threw the pen away. Her body seemed to be suffocating, and she was fuming. Unable to stand it, she simply turned on the computer, puffed up her cheeks, and logged into her social account. As soon as she logged in, a gray and white avatar was jumping and flashing. Clicking on it, it was L. Guduming County bidding, the day after tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m., Royal Hotel, must win a simple sentence, explaining the time, place, and purpose. Su Qianxi looked at those words and clicked on the chat history. Kingstown Eastern Suburbs, good potential, can enter L. The weather is getting cold, pay attention to your health L. GC is in a difficult situation, but has a strong foundation, can be acquired L. Influenza is rampant, pay attention to the children L. Fong Cun Tongling bidding, the 17th at 3 o'clock p.m., Shieling Square, must win, for more than 3 years. This L would send her messages. But the number was very small, and almost every message would be at least a month apart. If it was not a blessing, it was business advice and guidance. At first, Su Qianxi did not feel anything about this L, but as time went by, she actually had a sense of dependence on this stranger she had never met. For so long, every time Su Qianxi replied, he rarely responded. Occasionally when he was in a good mood, he might reply with an emoji. Smile. But in addition to these brief words, he rarely sent any text. Su Qianxi's eyes narrowed, and her fingers bounced a few times on the keyboard. Su Qianxi. Thank you, Mr. L. There was no response from the other side. Su Qianxi looked for a while and typed a string of words. Su Qianxi. Will you go the day after tomorrow? She curled her lips. Knowing that he would not reply, why did she ask? But just as she was about to retreat, a message suddenly popped up. L. No. Su Qianxi felt inexplicably a little surprised. Looking at the 2 words, she had expected it. To his surprise, another message popped up. L. You want to see me? Su Qianxi. Yes. L. When I go back to China. She was dazed and asked, You are not in the country? Oh my God. How could he know so much about Kingstown outside of China? That was impossible, right? However, L had already stopped replying. Looking at the chat box, Su Qianxi was slightly dazed and frowned. Really? Fake. If it was true, then he was too powerful. But if it was fake, why would he lie to her? What was his motive? She thought for a moment and clicked on the chat box with Luo Zhan. Su Qianxi, are you there? Z. Here Su Qianxi. Help me trace an IP address. Z. Send Su Qianxi Centel's account, and Luo Zhan quickly replied. San Francisco, USA Su Qianxi. What about before, where? Z. How long ago? Su Qianxi. 3 or 4 years ago. Z. Picture. Chapter 558. The picture Luo Zhan intercepted was very, very long. However, Su Qianxi looked at it one by one and felt it was very short. The login location of this account was very unstable. Su Qianxi looked at the first one and saw Italy, Australia, Maldives, Wuxia, the United Kingdom. Since 5 years ago, the location of this account had not returned to Wuxia. Looking at the time, it was also very unstable. From 5 years ago to 4 years ago, he did not log in for a year in between. When he logged in again, it was the first time he chatted with her. Twins, congratulations. The time of waiting for him to log in also coincided with the time when he sent a message to her. That was to say, except for when he sent a message to her, he would not log in at all at other times. Did he specifically log in to find her? Who was this? Originally, Su Qianxi suspected that it was Li Xiqing. However, Li Xiqing had been in the country since he disappeared, and then he was so injured that he could not move at all. Bo Xiao took him away. There must be a purpose. It was impossible to fly around with him, right? Su Qianxi was puzzled. A picture had already exposed the life and history of this account. Could it be that this person was a fugitive? Otherwise, why would he run around? Mysterious. More and more mysterious, this Mr. L. She couldn't figure it out, so she simply didn't think about it. However, the kitten in her heart refused to give up, kept scratching, and could not calm down for a long time. She turned off the computer and looked down at the information again. After all the documents were processed, it was already after 10 o'clock in the evening. Su Qianxi walked to the room of the 3 children. On the 3 small beds, there were 3 little guys lying. The outermost was Li Mosen's small bed. He seemed to hear the movement, turned over, turned his head, and looked at her with a pair of blue eyes, which seemed to reflect the light outside, overflowing with light. Su Qianxi was taken aback, but quickly recovered and whispered, "Go to sleep, cover yourself with the quilt." Li Mosen did not answer, nodded, and lay down obediently. This child had always been a light sleeper. A little movement could wake him up, which was not a good habit. However, thinking that this was a habit he had raised in the orphanage, her heart was a little painful. Poor child. Further inside, it was Li Jianqian's little bed. He slept soundly, breathing steadily. The one with the worst sleeping posture was Li Jianyue. Li Jianyue's mouth was wide open, and saliva was dripping from the corner of her mouth. Her head and the pillow were in 2 different places. A corner of the quilt was lifted, but the rest of the quilt was neatly covering her body. It was obvious that someone else had covered her from behind. Needless to say, it must be that insecure little guy, Li Mosen. Su Qianxi felt a bit helpless. After wiping her saliva, she lifted her head, put a small pillow under her head, and adjusted her sleeping position so that she could sleep well. Li Jianyue didn't notice. She flipped over and kicked the thin blanket away. His sleeping posture was terrible. Su Qianxi covered her with the quilt again and tucked it under her arm. After making sure she wouldn't run away, she turned and walked out. Chapter 559. Then she quietly walked out and closed the door. What Su Qianxi did not notice was that there was a satisfied smile on Li Mosen's face. He whispered happily, "Good night." The next day, Su Qianxi asked the secretary to start looking for a tutor for the children. Because Chang Yu asked for maternity leave, Su Qianxi also promoted a capable secretary to be her special assistant. Her surname was Bai, and she was smart, capable, and diligent. Although she was not as capable as Cheng Yu, she would not make any mistakes. After explaining this matter, Special Assistant Bai turned around and went to do it. Su Qianxi was presiding over the meeting, but halfway through, her phone rang. It was the Kingstown police. "President Su? The 3 prisoners you reported yesterday have all confessed. Is it convenient for you to come to the police station? Wait a minute. I'm in a meeting. Is 3 in the afternoon okay? Yes. See you at 3 in the afternoon. Hanging up the phone, Su Qianxi continued the meeting. After dealing with a lot of affairs, she suddenly remembered what Mr. L said last night. The bidding for Guduming County, the day after tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m., Royal Hotel, must win. Although she had never seen him, after years of dealing with him, Su Qianxi trusted L, who she had never met. Since he said he must win, it must be a very good place. Su Qianxi did some investigation and found that this place was located in a town near Kingstown, but it was not far from downtown Kingstown. In her previous life, Li Xiqing developed a piece of land to invest in a new project. Here, he applied to set up a connecting subway, and then developed the surrounding area. Because of this real estate, the surrounding area miraculously began to rise in price, and in less than half a year, the price doubled. However, according to her memory, because of the price advantage, the competition for Guduming County was very fierce. In the end, Li Xiqing won the land at 5 times the price, and many people were amazed by the courage of President Li. She had to say that L's vision was also very unique, so similar to Li Xiqing's. This piece of land, Su Qianxi was determined to win. Making up her mind, she went to the vice president's office. Li Jinan was on the phone. Seeing her coming in, he waved his hand and hung up the phone after talking for about 3 or 4 minutes. She told him her plan, and he nodded. Okay, let's go together tomorrow night. Li Jinan agreed without hesitation, but no one expected that such an unexpected thing would happen at the auction tomorrow night. Hearing his response, Su Qianxi threw the document at him, stretched, yawned, and said, "Brother-in-law, is it too easy for you to be the vice president now? I'll give you the position of president, okay?" Not good. He picked up the pack of cigarettes on the table, took one out, and lit it. It's best if you don't ask me to do anything. Let me enjoy my life. You know that's not my ambition. Yes, Li Jinan had always wanted to open an entertainment company and support a bunch of celebrities while he leisurely became a boss who did not have to do anything. Chapter 560. She was not only physically tired, but also mentally tired. Everyone knew that after the big boss of the Li Group died, the original boss's wife took over and became President Su. She had a lot of money. However, no one knew how much she didn't want to be President Su. If Li Xiqing was there, she would not be so tired. More importantly, she felt that she was exhausted, but the achievements of the Li Group were not as good as when Li Xiqing was there. Not enough, not enough. Li Xiqing was much more powerful than her. He could magnify the benefits and achievements of anything she did, and magnify it many times. Li Jinan sat on the chair, holding a cigarette between his long fingers. He slowly puffed out the smoke, and his almond-shaped eyes were half closed. After a long while he suddenly said, "Sister-in-law." His voice was different from Li Xiqing's cold and mellow. It had an indescribable magnetism, like a big bell ringing in people's ears at midnight. It was very distinctive. He said, "In fact, a few days ago, my brother contacted me." Su Qianxi looked at him, her heart slightly tightened, a little nervous. Recently, there was a drug gang that was particularly arrogant. They traded in broad daylight. Big Brother followed the drug enforcement team around and only caught a middle-level person. After a round of interrogation, we found that there was no problem with their finances. Su Qianxi's face darkened and she blurted out, "Money laundering?" Li Jinan nodded his head. He flicked the cigarette ash and leaned back in his chair. He looked lazy and comfortable. Moreover, the place where the money was laundered is in Kingstown. There are too many companies in Kingstown, so we can't find any of them yet. We can't find any evidence at all. You suspect that this gang is Bo Zhao's gang? Yes, but there is no evidence, just a guess. I'm guessing that they must have a very good business consultant and a very good operator. Very good. Su Qianxi's eyes darkened as she looked at Li Jinan. Li Jinan also looked at her, put out the cigarette, and said, "I am looking for evidence, so is my brother, and the anti-drug team in Kingstown. As soon as there is news, they will tell us. I believe it will not be long before we find him." Su Qianxi curled her lips and whispered, "I hope so." She had been hoping for him, but after 4 years, he still hadn't come back. In her heart, She was more disappointed than hopeful. This was an endless thing. Su Qianxi could not see the end, and so could Li Jinnan. Well, I still have something to do. I'm going to the police station. The guys who kidnapped Daesu and Ursu yesterday have confessed. I have to go and have a look. Be careful. Take Shuangyu with you. Shuangyu is always here. Let's go. She went back to her office, grabbed her purse, and asked Yang to drive them to the police station. All three of them were handcuffed, and the two men were bruised. Obviously, they had been beaten badly. The woman's makeup had been removed, and she looked at Su Qianxi with a pale face. They've all confessed. They don't have accomplices. Only the three of them kidnapped your child. They don't even know the person who appeared later. You don't know him? Su Qianxi obviously did not believe it. Isn't it an internal conflict? Chapter 561. That's right, another man chimed in. There's no money involved at all. At best, we're just fooling the child. We even bought a little rabbit for the child. We didn't hurt them. Please, I have a family to take care of. I can't go to jail. President Su, I know you are the kindest. I have a child who is the same age as your child. Do you have the heart to let him have no father? When Su Qianxi heard this, she coldly curled her lips and said to the police officer next to her, Do what you need to do. The confession has been recorded. I still have work to do, so I'll go first. Before she turned around, she heard their curses behind her. Su Qianxi ignored them. In a place where they could not see, a pair of eyes were as cold as frost. If he was not their accomplice, then he was a lone ranger from outside? In any case, this pervert, the next time she saw him, she must catch him and kill him. Thinking of the 2 blows on her chest, Su Qianxi's chest was full of anger. She was so angry that even her footsteps were a lot heavier. From childhood to adulthood, except for Li Xiqing, no one had touched her there. Who did he think he was? Moreover, when he recalled the teasing whistle yesterday, he felt even more suffocated in his heart. Walking to the side of the car, Su Qianxi was so angry that she kicked the door hard and roared, Bastard! Yang was sitting in the driver's seat. He was scared, blinked, and looked at Shuangyu behind Su Qianxi. Shuangyu spread her hands behind Su Qianxi. After swallowing silently, Yang coughed and asked weakly, President Su, where are we going now? Back to the company. It was not the first time that the Royal Hotel had welcomed this kind of bidding event. The event was a little grand, and many famous people were invited to attend. When Su Qianxi and Li Jinnan entered, many people recognized them and nodded to them one by one. Walking to the back and sitting down, Su Qianxi inadvertently glanced and saw a slender figure in front of her, inexplicably feeling a bit familiar. Looking over, Su Qianxi stared at the figure and narrowed her eyes. Someone next to her noticed Su Qianxi's gaze and shouted, President Su, are you looking at the girl in front? Su Qianxi looked sideways, smiled politely, and nodded. She's the general manager of a new company. Her surname is Tang. She's a very powerful woman. Done? Su Qianxi suddenly felt her head buzzing. The 2 parallel lines were suddenly connected together. Surname Tang? Tang Menjing? This back view was indeed very familiar. What is her name? She asked in a low voice. The boss of the small business didn't expect that she would really respond to him, and his eyes lit up. Especially when he thought that she was only 25 years old, his heart suddenly became fiery, and he said more enthusiastically, Her name is Tang Qing, 30 years old this year. I heard that she is not married yet. She is now in a company called TL, and there is another person above her. I heard that TL is particularly interested in Gudu Ming County this time, so they came prepared. Tang Qing? Su Qianxi looked at his back and narrowed her eyes. Tang Qing seemed to notice Su Qianxi's gaze and quickly looked over. When Su Qianxi saw her face, she was shocked at first and then dazed. Then she smiled back and looked away. Death. Chapter 562. Tang Qing, Tang Menjing? Definitely not Tang Menjing. If there was anything that Tang Menjing was most proud of, the first one would be her face. Tang Menjing had an oval face, big eyes, long curly and thick eyelashes, a high nose, a small mouth, and a deep and beautiful face. Enchanting and stunning, usually because of her confidence in her appearance, she usually did not put on makeup, at most just a thin layer of embellishment. Just like Su Qianxi now, she only put on a light layer of makeup. And this Tang Qing. Heavy makeup. Her lips were painted bright red, and her big eyes were covered with 2 layers of long false eyelashes, which made them look even more exaggerated. The powder on her face made her face very, very white. The thick layer of powder made her face look a bit stiff, which made Su Qianxi slightly surprised. She thought she was Tang Menjing, but seeing such a face, Su Qianxi was slightly dazed. Faintly smiling back, Su Qianxi quickly looked away, feeling very embarrassed. So ugly. Tang Qing seemed to feel the gaze behind her and quickly turned her head. Just when she saw her, her smile deepened, and she said something to the person next to her. Then she stood up and walked toward the back. Su Qianxi felt that this Tang Qing was a bit familiar, and she must have seen her somewhere. However, she just could not remember. Just as she was thinking, Li Jinnan touched her. Su Qianxi looked up with some confusion. At a glance, she saw Tang Qing standing on the side with a sexy figure. Tang Qing smiled at Su Qianxi and said, "You are Mr. Su of LS? Nice to meet you. My name is Tang Qing, the general manager of TL." Su Qianxi stood up and stood in front of Tang Qing, suddenly feeling like a bean sprout. She was 165 centimeters tall, weighed 94 pounds, and her figure. Her breasts were not small. After giving birth, she would have a C-cup. At this moment, she was wearing a green off-shoulder evening dress, which made her look like a good woman, fresh and artistic, but not losing the solemnity of a formal occasion. Tang Qing was not tall, but combined with her figure, she looked much more voluptuous and tall than Su Qianxi. The sapphire blue floor-length dress was covered with dazzling sequins. Under the light, the lines were even more S-shaped, hot enough to make people's blood boil. The deep cleavage stimulated Su Qianxi's eyes, and she couldn't help but look down. Even a woman like her had such a reaction. Su Qianxi couldn't help but look down. She saw that Li Jinnan was looking straight ahead as he sat to the side. He was looking straight ahead, neat and handsome. Seeming to feel her gaze, he faintly raised his eyebrows and seemed to be asking her, "What?" Su Qianxi shook her head, looked at Tang Qing again, and reached out to her. "Hello, I am Su Qianxi." Tang Qing also put her hand on it and smiled. "I've heard a lot about you, but TL is determined to win Guduming County." "Me too," Su Qianxi said politely. Inadvertently, her eyes fell on the back of her hand and arm. On Tang Qing's arm, there was a faint scar. It looked like it had been there for a while, wrinkled and slightly red. With the concealer, it did not look so serious. However, Su Qianxi once had such a scar on her face, and she recognized it at a glance. It was a burn. Chapter 563. Noticing Su Qianxi's gaze, Tang Qing twisted her hand slightly and quickly took it back. She said, "I hope we can cooperate in the future." "Excuse me." Su Qianxi nodded slightly, watched her go away, and then sat down. She whispered to Li Jinnan, "This woman has a burn on her hand, and it seems to be at least 3 or 4 years old." Li Jinnan raised his eyebrows slightly, nodded slightly, and looked very natural. Without looking back, he asked, "What are you suspecting? Do you remember what we said yesterday?" Li Jinnan didn't say another word. He looked ahead and didn't reveal any of his emotions. He began to calculate in his mind. Su Qianxi knew him. Listening to the people talking, she suddenly turned to look at the person who had just introduced Tang Qing to her and asked, "When was TL founded?" The person did not expect Su Qianxi to be so interested in this company. He was happy and told her everything he knew. It was founded about 3 years ago. The founder is Tang Qing's younger brother. That is, the person above her. However, the person above her never shows up and is very low-key. TL has developed rapidly in the past 3 years. I did not expect that they could come to this kind of occasion now, but I guess they are just here to watch the fun. As far as I know, this company does not have the strength to bid for Guduming County. 3 years. In just 3 years it had developed so fast? The entire Kingstown, and even the whole of China. In addition to Li Xiqing, Su Qianxi had never seen anyone who could be so good, developing a small company to this point in 3 years. How could there be so many business geniuses? The scar on Tang Qing's arm, the person behind her. Su Qianxi's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Was that so? In front of her, Tang Qing seemed to say something to the person next to her. Then she stood up and walked toward the door of the hall. Su Qianxi listened to the people next to her, but when she saw Tang Qing left, she couldn't help it. She smiled at the person next to her and said, "I'll go to the bathroom first." The person was dazed, blushed, and nodded. "Okay." Su Qianxi picked up her purse and followed Tang Qing out. Tang Qing seemed to be on the phone. She walked into a remote corridor of the hotel, and her graceful figure could be seen from behind. Su Qianxi subconsciously lightened her footsteps and secretly followed her, listening to her on the phone. Tang Qing's footsteps were extremely slow. Listening to her voice, she seemed to be in a hurry. She said, "What's going on? Didn't I say not to let him run around? Hurry up and find him and feed him the medicine." It was not Tang Menjing's voice, and the tone was more coquettish than Tang Menjing's. However, she had an inexplicable intuition that this person must have something to do with what happened 3 years ago. TL's timing was also very similar. Was it just a coincidence? TL done? Li. Could the brother behind her be Li Xicheng? Could it be the husband she had been with for so many years? Su Qianxi's heart was pounding, and she continued to listen. However, Tang Qing's voice seemed to slow down, and her footsteps stopped. Chapter 564. Tang Qing quickly turned around, but there was nothing there. Frowning, Tang Qing was a little puzzled. Strange, was it an illusion? She clearly felt that someone was following her. A hurried voice came over the phone. "What? Miss Tang, what should we do now? It will happen soon. What if he runs out and gets caught?" Tang Qing looked dignified and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry. Go to the places where he might go, and look for him on the way out. He has not escaped for so many years, and now he can't go far. We must catch him." "Yes." Hanging up the phone, Tang Qing turned back. However, she felt something was wrong, especially when she passed by a room. That feeling was more obvious. Tang Qing walked to the door of the room, reached out and knocked on the door, but there was no response. A waiter came over with a glass of wine and saw Tang Qing wandering at the door. He asked, "Hello, miss. How can I help you?" Tang Qing smiled, shook her head, and walked away. Hearing the voice outside was gone, Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief, and her body became soft. But then, she realized her current state and reached out to hit the man who suddenly attacked her. But before she hit him, she was caught by a big hand. There was no light in the room. It was very, very dark, and she could not see her fingers. Su Qianxi struggled hard, but the man not only did not let go, but wrapped his hands around her waist, and his movements were wanton. All of a sudden, she was flustered. Su Qianxi struggled harder, opened her mouth, and bit the palm of his hand. The man quickly let go, and Su Qianxi took the opportunity to shout, "Help! Help! Ah!" Before Su Qianxi could shout more, she was pressed on the bed. In the darkness, there was only the sound of her panicked breathing and the man's panting. Su Qianxi was shocked and cried, "Help!" However, the man obviously did not give her a chance to ask for help again. Holding her down, his big hand pinched her chin and sealed her lips. Su Qianxi's tears came out, and her heart was full of panic. Was she out of the tiger's mouth first and then into the wolf's den? Struggling with all her strength, she bit the man's lips. In an instant, the sweet smell of blood filled their mouths. The man on top of Su Qianxi seemed to smile. Holding her up with his knee, he said viciously, "I told you, you are so wild. It is easy to arouse men's desire to conquer you, Mr. Su. It was that hooligan from a few days ago." Su Qianxi panicked. This person was no less skilled than Li Jinnan. She had been learning from Li Jinnan for so long, but she had never been able to take advantage of him. This man was the same. That day in the parking lot, she already knew that she was no match for this man. Could it be that today, thinking of this, she struggled and sobbed, crying, "You can't touch me. You just want money. I will give you as much as you want. Please don't touch me." Chapter 565. Hearing this, Su Qianxi was even more confused about what he meant. Before she spoke, she felt her neck was sucked. He sucked so hard that Su Qianxi felt a stinging pain and exclaimed, "No, no, no." In the past few years, she had been clean, just to welcome Li Xiqing back and tell him that her heart had never changed. Although he was gone, missing, and no one knew if he was alive or dead. But she had been consistent. Now, how could she? Tears streamed down her cheeks, and she struggled even harder. But then the man got up, quickly opened the door, and closed the door. The movement was so smooth that before Su Qianxi could react, there was no movement in the room. Lying on her back, Su Qianxi blinked, and after a long while, she suddenly came back to herself. Sitting up, Su Qianxi covered her neck. She turned on the light, only to find that there was no electricity at all. What the hell? This guy even pulled out the card. Then, a string in his mind stretched taut. Wiping her tears, Su Qianxi got up, took her things, and went to the bathroom to fix her clothes. The bruise on her neck was a clear indication that she had almost been violated just now. Angrily, Su Qianxi's clothes were off the shoulder and could not cover her neck at all. Such a conspicuous bruise. Didn't it mean that she had cheated? Su Qianxi's eyes were red with anger, and she pursed her lips. In the end, she did not cry, went into the bathroom, put down the toilet lid, and took out the air cushion she carried with her. After a lot of layers, she barely covered a little bit. She put her hair down to cover the place and went to the front desk on the first floor as fast as she could. She had just written down the number of the room. As soon as she went down, she said, "Help me check the XX room." "Miss, do you want to book this room? This is our standard room, and the total price is 1,288 yuan. Su Qianxi was dazed and frowned. "No one booked this room?" "Yes, it is still vacant. Do you need me to book this room for you?" "No, thank you." Su Qianxi shook her head, walked back, and called Luo Zhan. The person on the other end of the line picked up very quickly and lazily. "Hello. Are you free? Help me check the surveillance cameras of a hotel." She told him the location. The more she thought about it, the more frustrated she felt. That be asterisk starred. If that guy dies in my hands, I'll definitely let Li Jinnan or Li Beixing have a good time with him. Let him know that the people of the Li family, even if they were just women, were not to be trifled with. What time period? 7 to 8 in the evening. Luo Zhan was busy with his work, and soon there was a doubtful voice. "I can't find it. It was hacked." Su Qianxi's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "From 6 o'clock on, the surveillance has been blank. It's obvious that it's been hacked." Luo Zhan also felt that he had lived for a long time and asked, "Why are you checking this?" Su Qianxi was about to answer, but she soon paused and made up an excuse to avoid it. She couldn't possibly tell him that she was dragged in here and almost raped, right? If these words were to spread out, it could be a big or small matter. Now that the surveillance camera had been hacked, Chapter 566. If this was spread, it could be big or small. Now the surveillance camera was hacked. Su Qianxi gritted her teeth and finally felt that she could not make it public. Now to the outside world, she was a widow. 3 or 4 years ago, after Li Xiqing died, she had been taking care of the 2 children and supporting the company. On Weibo and major news platforms, they were praising Su Qianxi's beauty and nobility. Although she herself didn't particularly care about these false reputations, under these glorious titles and good morals, there was the Li Corporation and the Li family hidden. Now, she was bound together with the Li family and the Li family, for better or for worse. How could she make it public? She could not afford to play. Su Qianxi's face was sullen, and her heart sank to the bottom. That person. Could it be that he had calculated this before provoking her? If that was the case, then there would definitely be a 3rd, 4th, 5th time. Su Qianxi suddenly felt irritated, sighed, and walked back to the original banquet hall. The auction had entered the climax. Li Jinnan noticed her absent-mindedness and did not expose her. He put down the final price. The audience was shocked. "Are you sure, Mr. Li?" "Yes." The Li family was determined to win Gudu-Ming County. Su Qianxi felt that the noise around her was getting louder and louder, and her head was a little painful. After a while, Li Jinnan called her sister-in-law. Su Qianxi looked up and looked at him with a puzzled face. "I got it. but the price is a bit over the budget. How much? Li Jinnan directly showed the price on the bidding machine. Su Qianxi glanced at it and found it was 5 times the original price. As expected. Su Qianxi nodded, feeling even more irritated, and her head hurt even more. She said, "It doesn't matter. You deal with the rest. I am a little uncomfortable." "What's wrong?" Li Jinnan furrowed his brows. He instinctively wanted to feel her forehead, but it didn't seem appropriate in front of so many people. Because she came out with Li Jinnan, Su Qianxi did not worry about safety at all, so she did not even bring Shuangyu today. Now, it was a bit troublesome. Seeing his expression, Su Qianxi smiled and said, "I'm just a little annoyed. You go ahead and call me when you're done. I'll sit here for a while." Li Jinnan nodded his head. "Give me a moment." Li Jinnan quickly walked away, and the people in the venue slowly began to disperse. Su Qianxi sat in her seat with her eyes half closed. Many people had noticed her, but few dared to talk to her. The elegance and coldness of President Su of the Li Group had long been known to the public. For so many years, because of her youth and beauty, she had attracted a lot of attention. However, this President Su not only did not associate with ordinary men, but also had a powerful female bodyguard with him. Although the female bodyguard was not around, the third young master of the Li family was not someone to be trifled with. However, it was inconvenient for men to strike up a conversation, but women did not have this taboo. Tang Qing walked over with graceful steps. She bent down and looked at her with concern. "President Su." Su Qianxi was half closing her eyes and did not notice the arrival of Tang Qing. At this moment, when she was called, she opened her eyes. However, when she saw a face comparable to that of a zombie, she was scared and shivered. Chapter 567. After seeing it was Tang Qing, Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief. Su Qianxi's reaction not only scared herself but also scared Tang Qing. Tang Qing's face was obviously embarrassed. She smiled and said, "I just want to see what's wrong with you. Are you uncomfortable here alone?" She just did not expect that it would scare her. Only Su Qianxi knew that what was more embarrassing was that she was scared by her face. Su Qianxi blushed, coughed, and said, "I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Tang." Tang Qing quickly returned to normal and nodded very gently. "That's good." The awkwardness in the scene had not been resolved. Just behind Tang Qing, the 2 men following her also felt a little uncomfortable. As if nothing had happened, Tang Qing looked at Su Qianxi and said, "I did not get it this time. I did not expect 3rd young Master Li to be as bold as 2nd young Master Li, offering 5 times the price. My TL is not as good as you, but next time, we will definitely be ready to compete with you, or we will have the opportunity to cooperate next time." As she spoke, she had reached out to her. Su Qianxi stood up with a smile and nodded. "I am looking forward to it." Tang Qing's smile widened, and she said coquettishly, "Goodbye. I'm not feeling well. I won't see you out. Take care, Mr. Tang." Tang Qing nodded and turned toward the elevator. However, as soon as she turned around, the smile on her face immediately collapsed. She put her hands around each other's arms. "Su Qianxi." Tang Qing pressed the button of the elevator and walked in. She looked at one of the men next to her and asked, "Did you find him?" "Not yet. I heard that he was let out by the maid. He did not bring any medicine or injection equipment." As he spoke, he looked at the time on his phone and said, "He probably can't hold it anymore and is going back." Tang Qing's lips finally curved up again. The elevator stopped, and her phone rang in time. "Miss Tang, I found him. His drug addiction is acting up, and he is twitching badly. He was found on the road. We coaxed him, and he couldn't help but come back." "Got it. Give him the medicine but only a little at a time. Don't let him feel too comfortable. You have to let him know the consequences of running away. It won't be good." As she spoke, she giggled. "I'll be back soon." "Yes, Miss Tang." After dealing with the matter, he gave the things to Su Qianxi and went to the bathroom. Standing in front of the urinal, Li Jinnan held a cigarette between his fingers. Halfway through, he heard the sound of stumbling footsteps. It sounded like the sound of high heels. Li Jinnan looked over. It was indeed a woman. Her face was flushed red as she walked over. His footsteps were a little shaky, and with a single glance, it was clear that he was completely drunk. Li Jinnan turned his head and turned sideways to cover himself. After he was done, he put the items away. Chapter 568. Brother Luon. The strange woman, wearing a blue dress, looked very Lolita style. At first glance, he could tell that she was young. She had long hair, which was a bit messy at the moment. The long bangs were disheveled, making her small white face even more charming. Her collar was wide open, revealing the white and tender cleavage. It was not deep, and even very green, faintly revealing the fragrance of a virgin. However, such a picture was a fatal temptation for men. Unfortunately, she ran into Li Jinnan. Although Li Jinnan was born in the army and had never touched a woman in his 29 years, the genes of the Li family were very strong. Everyone in their family was not lustful, and of course, Li Jinnan was the same. At this moment, there was only disgust in Li Jinnan's heart. Pushing the woman away, Li Jinnan's face was terrible, and he coldly warned, "Get out." When the girl heard this, she cried even more. She leaned over and hugged Li Jinnan's thigh with both hands. She said drunkenly, "No, no, Brother Luon. Don't drive me away." Li Jinnan closed his eyes and pulled her up forcefully. With a casual toss, he walked out of the room with quick steps. However, the woman behind him cried out and shouted, "Why don't you want me? I am clearly your fiancé. Why don't you want me? Why? You would rather have Yi Tsai than me." When Li Jinnan was halfway out, a man heard the shouting and looked at him with a very strange look. Li Jinnan looked straight ahead and walked toward the banquet hall where Su Qianxi was. Halfway there, she bumped into a man who looked a little effeminate. He had a trendy hairstyle and was dressed in a pink leopard suit. He had a silk scarf around his neck. His fingers were crossed, and he was wearing lipstick and makeup. With an anxious expression he shouted, "Yi Yu! Yi Yu! Get your ass out here. Oh my god! Why are you running around when you're so drunk? You're killing me." Li Jinnan heard this and raised his eyebrows. The effeminate man soon saw Li Jinnan, and his eyes lit up. He came up and asked, "Hello, handsome, have you seen a female college student in a blue dress?" His hair was dyed yellow and his skin was very white. He was about 1.7 meters tall. Men's room. Without waiting for Sissy to finish his words, Li Jinnan only said 2 words and walked away with his long legs. Sissy looked at his back and bit his lower lip with an intoxicated look on his face. "Oh my god, so handsome." Ouch. When Li Jinnan was far away, he suddenly remembered his business. "Oh yes, the men's room. Yi Yu, get your ass out here." Li Jinnan bought a villa for himself. After sending Su Qianxi to the old house, he drove back. When she returned to the old house, it was already past 10 p.m. The children were all asleep, but old Master Li was still watching TV in the living room. 3 years and 10 months had passed, and the number of white hairs on the old man's head had increased. His pair of turbid old eyes shone with a shrewd light. However, Li Sun had always been kind to his descendants. Seeing Su Qianxi coming back, he waved at them. "Qianqian, come here." Chapter 569. I fell asleep and woke up again. Captain Li took Su Qianxi's hand and patted it. He sighed and said, "Do you know why I woke up?" Su Qianxi looked at him and slowly shook her head. The wrinkles on Captain Li's face were also much more than 3 years ago. At this moment, when he smiled, his whole face was wrinkled. "I just had a dream. I dreamed that Xiqing came back." Captain Li smiled kindly. His voice was old and dry. He put his dry hand on Su Qianxi's hand. In a pair of slightly turbid eyes, there was some sadness. He said, "Grandpa, I am sorry for you and Su Qianxi. I may not be able to come back in time to see you off. Just pretend that you never had this grandson. I'm sorry." As he spoke, Captain Li's voice became sobbing. He lowered his head with tears in his eyes. "It's been 4 years. In 2 months, Daesu and Ursu's birthdays are coming. If he is still alive, he must have come back a long time ago. But why is he not back yet?" Su Qianxi's nose was sour, and her eyes were also filled with tears. She whispered, "Grandpa, don't think so much. He will come back. It's just a matter of time. He is still alive. You have to be healthy. When he comes back, you can see him. I have a hunch that he will be back soon. Captain Li shook his head. I know him. If he is still alive, it is impossible not to come back. He still has a wife and children. You know how much he looks forward to these 2 children. If he is really alive, it is impossible not to come back to see the children. Although sometimes he seems to be cold and indifferent to everyone, in fact, his heart is warmer than anyone else. He will not be cruel to the people he cares about. He cares about this family, but 4 years have passed. Has he ever come back? Su Qianxi was speechless, and her throat was also sore. I don't have much time. Over the years, you have worked hard, Qianqian. You have been supporting his company and the 2 children. I have seen it all, but Grandpa's heart aches. Grandpa, I am happy to do it. The old man took her hand and looked at her meaningfully. You're willing to endure hardship, but do you know how much the 2 children yearn for a father? As soon as Grandpa mentioned this, Su Qianxi knew what he wanted to say. Shaking her head, she said, Grandpa, I don't want to find someone else. I want to wait for him to come back. I know you love Xiqing, but so many years have passed, and you are only 25 years old. Accept the fact, Qianqian, he is dead. He will not come back. Su Qianxi looked at Captain Li. The old man's hair was almost completely white. His face and spirit were clearly much older than he had been in his previous life. Much, much older. She knew what he was worried about. He was afraid that when he got old, she would have a companion and someone to rely on. That way, she wouldn't have to support herself. Li Xiqing had been brought up by him and was his favorite grandson. But now he had to persuade his favorite grandson's wife to remarry. For the old man, wasn't this a kind of torture? However, Su Qianxi was not willing to accept his kindness. She held the old man's hand and said seriously, Grandpa, he will come back. Qianqian. Captain Li's voice was like a broken bell in the wind and rain, far away and swaying. No matter how long you wait, the dead will not know, but there are still living people waiting for you. Do you know that? Death. Chapter 570. Su Qianxi heard that and became silent. A living person. Was he talking about Lu Yihan? Indeed, for so many years, she knew exactly how Lu Yihan had treated her. She did not understand before, but since Li Xiqing disappeared, Lu Yihan's heart was almost exposed in front of her. Lu Yihan always tried to ask her out, and she always had a variety of ways to avoid it. Before that, she often went to kindergarten to pick up the 2 little guys from school, or came home to help cook, or taught the little guys to play games and read. However, the more Lu Yihan was like this, the more she did not dare to face him. It had been at least 2 months since she last saw Lu Yihan, right? Su Qianxi knew that she owed him a lot, a lot. Captain Li looked at her side and said, Forget it. You think about it yourself. I am an old man, and I will not meddle in your business. Grandpa. Su Qianxi lowered her head and whispered. When she was about to say something, she was interrupted by Captain Li. However, Qianqian, I have something to trouble you with. Captain Li took the cane next to him and was about to stand up. Su Qianxi hurried forward and helped him up. It's no trouble. Grandpa, if you need anything, just tell me. I will try my best to do it for you. Come on, help me back to the room. Captain Li walked slowly with the cane in one hand. After helping him back to the room, Captain Li took out an old-fashioned pocket watch from under the bedside cabinet, handed it to Su Qianxi, and said earnestly, This pocket watch, please send it to the grandson of my old comrade. For so many years, I have been unable to let go of this big stone in my heart. In order to save me, my old comrade sacrificed himself to protect me. At that time, we were only in our 20s. Li Xiao was not long born, and his child was only 2 or 3 years old. Later he died. Because of the war, I did not find his body. Just a few days ago, I finally found his family. It was not easy. Su Qianxi took the pocket watch and opened it. At a glance, she saw an old black and white photo inside. Inside was a young officer, dressed in beautiful and neat clothes, and next to him sat a woman. Because the photo had changed color, it was impossible to see the faces of the man and woman clearly. This is the relic of an old comrade. Please pass it to his grandson. I have an appointment with him on the 3rd floor of the Kingstown Convention and Exhibition Center. Su Qianxi closed the pocket watch and felt it was inappropriate. She said, Grandpa, I think it is better for you to give such an important thing to him in person. Since he is his grandson, he must be young, at most a little older than Xiqing. 30 or 40. Why don't we call him over to our house and treat him well? No, it's not convenient for him. He said that he was very busy with work and did not have time to come here. That's why he asked me to go to that place. I feel sorry for them. I don't have the face to ask him again. As Captain Li spoke, he glanced at Su Qianxi's face. Seeing that she seemed to be hesitating, he grabbed the pocket watch and said, If you don't want to, then forget it. I'll go myself. Chapter 571. In a place where Su Qianxi could not see, the old man's eyes flashed with the light of calculation. The old man sighed and said, I asked him to meet at noon tomorrow at this place. Then he took out a note from under the pillow. Su Qianxi took it and found that it was a Western restaurant, with the seat number and time written on it. 12:30 noon. After Su Qianxi agreed to meet the old man, she went back to her room and set an alarm clock for 12 o'clock noon, in case she forgot. However, when she was taking a shower, she suddenly felt like she had fallen into a trap. Such a scene seemed to be familiar to him. However, when had she experienced it before? There seemed to be a familiar picture flashing in Su Qianxi's mind, but she could not remember it. After taking a shower and drying her hair, she fell asleep. The next day, she was busy all morning. She did not think of it until her alarm clock rang. Stretching, Su Qianxi asked the secretary to wrap the pocket watch in a gift box and went to the bathroom. She picked up the BB cream and patted it on her neck to cover her hair. After making sure that no one would see it, she took the pocket watch to the place where Grandpa and the grandson of his old comrade had agreed to meet. The distance was closer than expected, and Su Qianxi arrived 10 minutes earlier. When she got to the seat, Su Qianxi ordered a glass of juice for herself and sat there waiting. About 7 or 8 minutes later, when Su Qianxi was bored and drinking the juice, she saw a blue figure coming from afar. This figure looked a little thin, was relatively tall, and had very white skin. He wore a pair of rimless glasses and wore a sapphire blue diamond-shaped checkered suit. He looked noble and handsome. At this moment, he was talking to the waiter with his head tilted. Seeing this figure, Su Qianxi's heart suddenly jumped and she was a little surprised. Lu Yihan? Why was he here? Lu Yihan also seemed to feel her gaze and was about to turn his head. Su Qianxi was so scared that she immediately took the menu to cover her face, feeling bitter. Damn. She couldn't be so unlucky, right? Did she not look at the almanac when she went out today? How could she meet Lu Yihan like this? This luck was amazing. However, what was even more unexpected was that Lu Yihan was led by the waiter and walking toward her. This is private room A2. Please take a seat. Thank you. Lu Yihan sat down and smiled politely at the waitress. Su Qianxi put down the menu, annoyed, and asked, Why are you here? Lu Yihan looked at her in surprise and said, Grandpa said you had something for me and asked me to come. Didn't you ask me to come? Su Qianxi was speechless. My goodness, I was tricked by my grandfather again. Su Qianxi leaned back in the chair, threw the menu away, and leaned on the table. Seeing her reaction, Lu Yihan could guess what it was. Unconsciously licking his lips, Lu Yihan took the menu and asked, Should I order for you? Chapter 572. Lu Yihan folded the menu and handed it to the waiter, smiling. That's it. Thank you. The waiter was dazzled by his smile, blushed slightly, took the menu, and quickly left. Su Qianxi bit the straw and felt a little embarrassed. Grandpa was really. In the past, when he tried to match her with Li Xiqing, she had nothing to say. But why was he trying to match her with Lu Yihan now? Wasn't this a trap? If Li Xiqing came back. Su Qianxi's heart was bitter. Her eyes slightly lowered, she let go of the straw and moved her lips. Yihan. Qian. Both of them spoke at the same time, and both of them were dazed at the same time. All of a sudden, the atmosphere became even more awkward. Su Qianxi did not know how to face him. Somewhat distressed, she lowered her head and said, Han, today Didn't you say you have something for me? Lu Han interrupted her words. In a pair of clean and clear eyes, there was tenderness. However, under the eyes that Su Qianxi could not see, there was also unspeakable frustration and injury. Su Qianxi was interrupted and swallowed all the words back into her stomach. Lu Han curled his lips and said with a bit of a tease, "Is this also a lie to me?" Also, when did she lie to him? Su Qianxi glared at him, took out the pocket watch that had just been specially packaged in a gift box from her bag and handed it to him. Such a scene was completely seen by a pair of eyes not far away. In a corner that very few people went to, a tall figure was sitting quietly. Wearing a big pair of sunglasses and a dark cap, he stared at the gift box that Su Qianxi handed to Lu Han. His hand on the armrest suddenly tightened. He got up and walked into the restaurant. Lu Han saw the gift box packaging, his eyes slightly brightened, and he couldn't help being surprised and excited. A gift? Lu Han couldn't wait to take it and open the lid. At a glance, he saw the pocket watch in the gift box. The pocket watch looked very old. Opening the pocket watch, there was an old black and white photo inside. "This is... My grandpa said that this was your grandpa. When they were young they were still fighting. Your grandpa was his old comrade. This is the only thing left by your grandpa." Su Qianxi began to wonder if even this was fake. How come she never knew that Lu Han had a grandfather who died in the war? Lu Han stared at the old photo on the pocket watch for a long while, then smiled and nodded. "This is indeed my grandmother, but I have never seen my grandfather. My grandmother told me that he was a hero and died in the war." Feeling a bit embarrassed, Su Qianxi nodded. "So this is the surprise Grandpa mentioned." Lu Han shook the pocket watch, and the smile on his face grew wider. "It's really a surprise. Thank Grandpa for me." So what Grandpa said was true. She had thought that her grandfather was lying to her. Lu Han carefully put the pocket watch back into the gift box and put it aside. Just as he was about to speak, a waiter walked over with a tray with a glass of juice on it. Chapter 573. Walala! A full glass of orange juice was splashed on Lu Han. His originally elegant and beautiful royal blue suit was suddenly soaked. At the same time, there was the sound of children playing with marbles. Lu Han stood up and looked at himself incredulously. The waitress exclaimed and was shocked. She quickly went to Lu Han's table and opened the tissue. She apologized in horror and helped him wipe. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to." "It's okay. I'll do it myself." Lu Han gently pushed the waitress away and took out his handkerchief. Su Qianxi looked down and saw a transparent marble rolling on the ground, and it quickly went under the table. Raising his head, he looked around and saw a tall and straight figure. Wearing a large dark cap and a large pair of sunglasses that could cover 2/3 of his face, he was playing with a marble in his hand, tossing it up and down in his palm. Seeming to feel Su Qianxi's gaze, he also turned his head. There was enough light during the day, and she saw a blue diamond cross earring on his earlobe. Because of the light during the day, Su Qianxi could clearly see that under his hat, there was flaxen hair covering most of his ears. The color of his lips was extremely light, so light that even the lip line could not be seen clearly. At this moment, seeing her gaze, he put the marble in his hand in front of her, with a provocative smile on his lips. Su Qianxi recognized him at a glance. Wasn't this the man who molested her in the dark parking lot that day, and in the room of the Royal Hotel that night? "You!" Su Qianxi was a little angry. "Shuangyu!" The man was startled. He was not far from the door. At this moment he turned and ran. "Shuangyu, catch that guy!" Shuangyu had been waiting not far away. Seeing the place where Su Qianxi's hand was pointing, she immediately chased after him. Su Qianxi also picked up her bag and ran toward the door. Lu Han was a little shocked. Why was Su Qianxi so restless? After all these years, she should have matured quite a bit. The current her was a little too restless. What could be more important than his current state? Lu Han looked hurt and asked, "Qianqian, where are you going?" "I'll be back in a bit," Su Qianxi said and walked out the door. Annoyed, Lu Han called his assistant to send him a set of clothes and went into the bathroom. The mysterious man who caused all this stood in the corner outside and looked at Lu Han inside. His eyes under the sunglasses were sharp and bright, with a bit of coldness. Shuang Yu and Su Chenxi looked around. Suddenly, Su Chenxi saw him near the restaurant and asked Shuang Yu to approach him quietly. When Shuang Yu got the order and pretended to walk over unintentionally, the man suddenly turned his head and nodded slightly at them. Then he turned and ran. However, although this man was running, he still looked like he was taking a stroll in the park, leisurely and contented. From time to time, he would turn his head to look at them, as if he was deliberately teasing them. Shuang Yu was annoyed and moved faster. But the man also ran faster and faster. Suddenly, he stopped and threw something at Shuang Yu. Death. Chapter 574. Shuang Yu dodged and chased him again. The man had already entered the elevator. Facing her, he put 2 fingers together and gently waved on the side of his forehead. When Shuang Yu arrived, the elevator door had closed, and she could not catch up. Su Chenxi picked up the thing he had thrown and frowned. This was a pendant. There was a chain on the pendant, and the workmanship was very fine. The shape of the pendant was in the shape of a flame, with a wolf's head on it. On the neck of the wolf's head, there was a star inlaid with a blue gem. It was very valuable. And what made Su Chenxi most surprised was not its value, but this pattern. Wasn't this pattern drawn by Tang Menjing in her mother's diary? How could it be? Did this thing belong to Tang Menjing? However, this person had harassed her again and again. What did he mean by throwing this necklace? What did he want to express? Did he want to show that he had something to do with Tang Menjing? Or perhaps, he was trying to explain something else? Su Chenxi looked at this necklace for a long while. Looking up, she saw Shuang Yu turn around and use sign language to ask, "Do you still want to chase?" Su Chenxi slowly shook her head. "Let's go back. Yihan is still waiting for us." Putting the necklace away, Su Chenxi walked into the dining room. Sitting in the original position, Lu Yihan came back after about 10 minutes. He had changed his clothes. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. During the meal, Su Chenxi and Lu Yihan did not eat much. Just when Su Chenxi was eating the last ice cream, Lu Yihan said, "Qianqian, in a few days, it is our company's 5th anniversary. You are a major shareholder. I'm afraid there is no time." Su Chenxi bit the spoon and interrupted him before he finished. "You know, I have been developing a new project recently and am very busy. My uncle is not very familiar with this aspect and is not very interested, so..." Lu Yihan was silent. LS Company had been supported by Su Chenxi and Li Jinnan for so many years. Who was the main force? Lu Yihan was not very clear. However, in the past few years, LS had gone from the crisis of bankruptcy to the current prosperity, which was no less than the peak period when Li Xiqing was there. This definitely had something to do with Su Chenxi. "I know our company isn't big right now, but very impressive. In just a few years, your reputation has spread throughout the circle. Now, who doesn't know you, Boss Lu? But I am really busy. If I have time, I will go, Yihan." "All right." Lu Yihan smiled and looked down. "Then I will wait for you." After the meal, the two of them went down to the underground parking lot and looked at each other in silence. When they were about to part ways, Lu Yihan suddenly stopped her. She turned around and looked at him. Lu Yihan smiled gently and looked at her deeply with his amorous eyes under his rimless glasses. "You don't have to avoid me like this. Can't we be the same as before? You are still Qianqian, and I am still Lu Yihan. Can't we get along like we used to when Li Xiqing was alive?" Hearing that, Su Chenxi blinked. Shaking her head slowly, she said in a low voice, "Yihan, he is gone, so everything is different. You know, everything is different." Chapter 575. Goodbye. Goodbye. It was an ordinary farewell. However, the moment Lu Yihan turned around, his eyes suddenly became hot. Goodbye, it was different. You know, everything was different. Back in the car, Lu Yihan sat in silence for a long time. Seeing Su Chenxi's car driving away, he also stared at that place for a long time. After a long while, he fell on the steering wheel. This car had been with him for more than 4 years. Now, no matter how successful the company was, no matter how much personal assets he had, Lu Yihan had never thought of replacing her. He was reluctant to do so. He just wanted to protect her carefully and not let her get hurt. Was this really wrong? Stroking the steering wheel in front of him, Louis Han smiled bitterly. It's time to say goodbye, old man. After that, Louis Han started his red Renault and slowly moved forward. Louis Han and Su Qianxi did not notice that in a hidden corner of the parking lot, a white sports car had been parked for a long time. Sitting in it, wasn't it the man that Su Qianxi had just chased? With one hand on the window, he gazed into the distance. Suddenly, a flustered voice came from the blue earring on his earlobe. Come back quickly. She's coming back soon. Reaching out and pressing the blue diamond, the white sports car suddenly started and rushed away. After Su Qianxi came out of the restaurant, she did not directly go back to the company but went home. When Captain Li saw her coming back, he felt a little guilty. Stretching, he patted his leg and said, "Oh, I'm tired. I'm going to take a break." Su Qianxi was speechless, feeling angry and amused. She simply kept a straight face, ignored him, and went straight into the room. Taking out the diary of her mother, Su Qianxi opened the label and saw a logo on the page. It was a flame in the shape of a wolf's head, with a star in the center. The lines were clear and were drawn with a colorful pen. She picked up the necklace. The two were exactly the same. The wolf's head was blue, the flame was orange-red, and the star was a sapphire. Su Qianxi was sure that the person who had been harassing her was Tang Menjing's man. However, Tang Menjing had disappeared with Li Xicheng, Bo Xiao, and Rong Anna for so long. Why did she not show up when she suddenly came back? What was their purpose? Su Qianxi's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She stood up and hurried out the door. When she saw Nanny Rong, she immediately asked, "Where's the baby?" Nanny Rong was startled by her anxiousness. "He's playing in the backyard." Li Jianyue held a little rabbit in her arms and stuffed a carrot into the rabbit's mouth. Li Jianqian couldn't stand it anymore. He turned his head away and played games on his iPad. Li Mosen took her hand away and said, "If you stuff it like this, the bunny will hate you." Li Jianyue was shocked. "I just want it to be full. Why does it hate me? Think about it. You don't want to eat anything, but if I keep stuffing a carrot into your mouth, will you hate me?" You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.